My husband-to-be wants everyone to know I'm not pure. It's exactly what the title says. I've been with my fiance for 6 years and we've been engaged for the past 8 months. I've been doing most of the wedding planning, but my fiance, let's just call him Ryan, will give his input here and there. So about a month ago, Ryan out of nowhere said he was talking to some of his co-workers and thinks that I shouldn't wear a white dress. This was totally weird to me. Ryan's a very artistic guy, so I figured this was more about how the photos would turn out or something along those lines, but I'm set on wearing white. I told him this and I could see that he was annoyed, but he let it go. 2 weeks ago, I finally picked and paid for my dress, and this caused a huge argument. Ryan again came to me very annoyed. He asked to see the dress I picked, but I said no because I wanted it to be a surprise for our wedding day. He asked me to at least tell him what color it was, and when I said white, he threw a fit. I honestly do not see why this was a big deal. Almost everyone wears white on their wedding day. When I asked him what color he thought I'd be wearing, he told me I should wear red. Again, super weird to me. I asked him why I'd wear red to our wedding, and he told me that brides only wear white when they are pure. For some background, Ryan and I started dating when I was 21 and he had just turned 20. He was a virgin when we met, and I only had one other person who was my ex-boyfriend of 4 years throughout high school. This caused a lot of problems. The first year of our relationship, we almost didn't continue dating because of how insecure he felt. After that first year, it was never a problem again until now, I guess. He went to his mum about all of this, thinking she would convince me, but she's on my side. So 2 nights ago, Ryan and his mum and I stood in our living room and argued about my sex life being shown in a dress. His mum stated that he is no longer a virgin either, so maybe he should wear red too, and he burst out crying. Ryan is still stating that me wearing white would be deceiving all of the guests and that it's different for guys. This has all honestly made me question even marrying this man. I don't know if it's just because everything is so fresh, but I'm really disgusted by him. He's not even religious, so I know this is just about him still thinking about me losing my virginity at 18 before I even knew him. I just needed to rant to anyone about how psycho this is. Right, let's get straight to some comments here. Someone has said, look, if he is this insecure after 6 years together, things are not going to improve. Is he going to mention your impurity in his wedding speech? Is he going to try to leverage this in your marriage to get what he wants? Is he going to demand paternity tests for your children? I would seriously consider what you're signing up for. The dude sounds messed up as frick. Yeah, I think insecurity there is the key word. This level is insane. Someone else said, Jesus, just throw the whole man in the bin. For 6 years, has he been planning on getting back at you for not being a virgin at your wedding? I'm petty as anything, and I just stopped having sex with him. When he asked why, I would say since he finds your sexual history so disgusting, he is now part of the history, while you tell him to pack his stuff and go find a virgin at 26 years old. And finally, somebody said, this is not the kind of guy you want to marry. And why is what you do behind closed doors anybody else's business? I couldn't agree with these 3 comments anymore. Right, 16 months later, that is just last week at the time of recording, March the 7th, 2024, we got this update. This is my update 1 year later on the whole situation. I will start by saying I did not get married. Well, that, to be honest, is pretty good to hear. Ryan made that decision quite easy for me. I remember reading a comment that said I had to already have been done with the relationship for me to move on so fast. And that statement was very true. As much as I want to be the bigger person and not slander Ryan, he deserves it. I won't get into all of our issues, but there are some big ones that I would like to address. The absolute deal breaker for me had nothing to do with the red dress, but instead was all of his little lies that built up through our entire relationship. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. The insecurity is clear to see, and it's obvious that there was more going on here than just him wanting you to be in a red dress. Ryan is very smart, I can't take that away from him. We actually met because even though I am a year older than him, he graduated a year before me. We had mutual classes. For someone so smart, he always got caught in dumb lies. As far as I know, he never cheated on me. That was something that I know a lot of people assumed, but even now I don't believe it. There was never any big lie that caused massive drama, but rather a mountain of little white lies that always made me question why. He would lie to people about having allergies, he'd lie about stopping for food before coming home, he would lie about losing weight. He is a healthy weight with a very normal build. He would just lie about so many things that did not matter. My issue with this is I had absolutely no trust in the man over literally anything. I never held him back from doing things, and he never asked permission to do things. So him going out of his way to lie about meaningless things really made me start to resent him. I do not think he ever talked to his co-workers about the dress. I think that was another lie. After telling him I did not want to be together anymore, I asked him about everything that happened surrounding the wedding. I got no real answers out of him, and till this day I have no real closure. My best assumption is that he got sucked into misogynist forums surrounding purity and made up a story to bring it up to me. Our breakup was pretty nasty since he talked about me a lot online. Oh my gosh, that is the worst. For the most part, I had support. No one ever reached out to me or threatened me, but it's still annoying having my feed filled with rumors that I cheated and broke up our engagement over nothing. There was a lot of name calling as well. Apparently, I'm ran through, I'm fat, I let myself go, I look miserable without him. Eventually, he stopped on his own, as I never acknowledged any of it. Even with the online harassment, he never really fought to save our engagement. I was actually hurt by how he seemed equally as ready to part ways. We have no contact with each other at all, but I do know that last month he actually got engaged again. All I know about the girl is that she is 23, a hardcore Catholic, and actually looks very sweet. For her sake, I hope they work out. I do not still talk to Ryan's mum, sorry to disappoint. She was very kind to me through everything, but for me to continue talking to her would be a bit weird. I still got a happy birthday text and a Merry Christmas one. I did have a date 2 weeks after I called off my engagement. Wow, that is a quick turnaround. Now that didn't go anywhere and it was never meant to. For me, the date was to see just if I felt any guilt for moving on, and I had none. I had a huge career shift 2 months ago and I'm now living in Philadelphia, far away from all the drama. I'm happy with where I'm at and he seems happy with his life. I don't think I'll ever have to interact with him again. Okay, that is going to do it for the post, but someone's left an interesting comment down below saying, I read the original and all I could think was that the whole white wedding gown thing had not a bit to do with purity and actually everything to do with status. Queen Victoria got married in a white gown, so all the society ladies who could possibly afford something as truly frivolous as a fancy white dress that would be worn just once followed suit. Hence the white bridal gown was born. Prior to Victoria, most women got married in whatever their very nicest gown was, and colour didn't figure in a whole lot. Anyway, glad you dodged that nuclear warhead. Have a good life now. Someone else said that Ryan is emotionally unwell, and I'm sad for his new fiancée. I'm sorry this happened to you, you deserve better. And finally, another Redditor commented, sounds like you dodged a bullet. You're better off without him in your life. All the best in your new job. I mean, look guys, at this point I feel like I could go through this post, analyze a few certain things, try and work out exactly why Ryan was saying certain things that he said at certain times, but in reality I think it is as simple as what someone just said there at the end. He is just emotionally unwell. And I agree, I feel bad for the new fiance that she's going to have to spend at least some part of her life in a relationship with this man. It sounds to me though like OP is doing well, which is great, but yeah, overall, crazy story. The habitual liar didn't want his wife to wear white at her wedding, just in case it would deceive the guests. Well, no, he also wasn't a virgin. So, I mean, who's he really deceiving? What an absolute joke of a man. My wife, together for 12 years, married for 7, is leaving me for someone she has known 3 months. This was originally posted on July the 29th, 2023. A slight preface. My wife and her brother were very close when young. He got very into alcohol and went to prison for 10 years, then went immediately back to drinking, then died in front of her though. My wife, who is 30, and I, 33, started going to the gym together. We were loving the results of the fitness. It made sex even better and we couldn't keep our hands off each other. We felt as happy and close as ever. 3 weeks after her brother died, this guy chats her up at the gym and she immediately clicks with him. Now, I was wary, but I trusted my wife. She's a sweetheart, and I never imagined her having the ability to have an affair. Last weekend, we had one of the most romantic days and evenings that we've had in a while. This week, she decides that she cannot go on without finding out why she developed such a quick connection with this guy. We own a house and 3 pets. Her family and everyone we know are devastated and blown away, but she is dead serious. The woman I knew last week even, has left the building. This is a living nightmare that I just want to wake up from. We did couples counselling 3 times and have one scheduled on Wednesday, but she has completely made up her mind and seems to have rapidly fell out of love with me. My life as I had known it is over. I just needed to get this all off my chest. So a short and sweet start to this one. That was the original post. Let's get into some relevant comments. Some people asked below about how OP is communicating with his in-laws or his wife's parents, how they are dealing with the brother's passing, and trying to get some information from that. OP says, I am in daily communication with her parents. We are very close. They are as heartbroken as me and praying that she snaps out of it before irreparable damage is done. Unfortunately, that time is very close, if it has not already passed. And they, to be fair, understand that. OP on if his wife has been diagnosed with any issues that might have affected her in a traumatic event situation. He says she has not. Her dad has bipolar, her grandpa also has bipolar, both allegedly kicked in when 30. Wow, and she now is 30, could potentially be a reason? OP on if there was any sexual activities taking place between his wife and the involved individual from the gym. He says, about a month ago, he went into where she works, the library, and kissed her. Right after that, she snapped out of the fog, realized this is crazy, and told him he needs to keep to himself and that wasn't okay. Things went great for 3 weeks, but then she snapped right back into it. She swears that kiss is the only physical contact they have had though. I am extremely dubious, but who knows. I was her first everything, and she's pretty sexually nervous. Well, she's not open about herself as a sexual being. Right, now here is a great comment from somebody that I think sums up how I'm feeling about this. This person said, this sounds like a trauma response and a self-destructive behavior in response to intense grief. She is intentionally blowing up her life. Please go and see a trauma therapist. It will be helpful for you both dealing with your own situation and for understanding her actions. Unlike everyone else here, I actually empathize with your wife quite a bit. In addition to you, she is going through something that most of us will never ever understand. This is an incredibly complex situation that would do well to be divorced from ego. I completely agree. You know, it's one thing to sit there and say, how come your wife's cheating on you? She's a disgrace. She's having an affair. That's terrible. But there's more context to this. It's more nuanced than that. She's just seen her brother die in front of her. You can't really explain these sort of actions just by saying she shouldn't be doing it. She's gone through immense trauma and is going through immense trauma. She needs help. This commenter continues. Many happily married couples who have been together for 40 or 50 years can tell you of a similar period in their relationships. One they stuck through because they knew their partner was acting out of their mind and they put their ego aside and love first. They held space for their partner and tried not to take things personally. Your wife is divorcing you, so obviously this is out of your hands, but I would suggest this situation isn't permanent if you don't want it to be. Now, I'm not excusing cheating. 99% of the time, if your partner cheats on you or leaves you, I would be the first to say, no one is worth that, let them go, and good riddance. However, having your beloved sibling die in front of you is the rarest of experiences, one that will absolutely F a person up, and she is acting effed up. And in this rare circumstance, I personally would try to remember that she's going through something I cannot understand, and essentially going through the psychological or life equivalent of self-harming behaviors. Yeah, that's actually a great point. It's not physical, but it is psychological, yeah, what she's doing. My love for my partner would trump my outrage at their transgressions in this one rare circumstance, even if it hurt like heck. Do as you will, but I hope you don't let everyone else cloud your mind with the message that she's just being selfish and doesn't care about your relationship. I think this is a person absolutely nosediving in grief and horror. Sometimes life, love, and relationships are far more complex and nuanced than we act like they are. Exactly. What a wonderful comment, and I completely agree with every single word of it. OP replied to this saying, 2 days later, and this comment is the one that has stuck with me the most. My love for her is still trumping all of the hurt. I thought that she had hurt me too bad to forgive her, but that isn't the case at all. It's not even close. I have an insane amount of love for her and an unlimited supply of empathy for her situation. We had a good heart-to-heart this morning, and we agreed that we're likely going to separate, but not divorce. That our friendship and amicability are our number one priority. We both still love each other very much. We both agreed that we said things we did not mean due to anger and hurt. Things felt very black and white the last few days, and now the nuance and complexity of things are setting in even more. One day at a time, love is no joke, and being a human is messy. So there we go. That is it for the initial post. Again, that was a long time ago now, July 29th, 2023. And the beauty of this one and this subreddit is that 8 months later, we got an update. So we know how this one ends. Did these two get back together, as I hope they did, after getting over or at least dealing with or learning how to deal with this terrible trauma? Or did it not work out like that? The only way to know is to get into the update. So let's do it. Okay, so here we go then. This is it. Posted on April the 1st, 2024. Not on, well, I guess it is on April Fool's Day, but it's not on April Fool. So that's 8 months after the original post. I had a kind Redditor reach out to me over the weekend asking how I was doing regarding the above situation. The original post got a lot of attention, so I figured I would give an update. My wife filed for divorce a month after moving out. During this time, I did the whole online dating thing, which was way worse than I could have ever expected. I kept myself busy, working out, building my own confidence, hanging out with friends. In general, it was horrible, but I was trying to keep my head up. I was in therapy. I didn't jive with my first therapist. I found a new one in December who I liked a lot more, and I'm still seeing her. Mid-December, my wife calls me, crying, asking if she can stay in the guest bedroom because she has nowhere to go. I say yes, even though she hurt me so badly. I did still love her. It turns out that things with the guy at the gym turned toxic very fast. I know the word narcissist gets thrown around a lot these days, but this guy though, it's hard to believe these subhuman pieces of trash actually exist. So she stays in the guest bedroom for a week, then goes and stays at her parents' for a month. She had a nervous breakdown and was able to get a medical leave of absence from her work. Mid-January comes around and she is back at the house, but still in a very frantic and erratic state, sort of like she was withdrawing off hard drugs. I had no idea about the addictive nature of toxic relationships. It's a psychological clusterfuck. She is clear that she is too effed up in the head to be in a relationship and is going to work on herself. I give her the time and space she requested. She goes all in on learning about the psychology of all this rubbish. Inner child work, how the nervous system reacts and attracts you to toxic people if you grew up in a toxic household, anxious and avoidant attachment styles. There's this book called How to Stay Married, where the wife had an affair, and it turns out the root of the issue was her unresolved childhood trauma. Long story short, the same thing happened here. It hurts, but I can forgive her. She is my best friend, and we're insanely compatible in a lot of ways. She's really been returning to herself the past month. She's the happiest I've seen her in at least a year, and last week we filed the paperwork to dismiss the divorce. We are both in individual counselling and soon to start couples therapy. I'm sure a lot of people will think that I am making a mistake in reconciling, but I am happy. I do trust her now that she has the knowledge to not let this happen again, and she has the drive to become the best person she can be. Well, there we go. That was the happy ending I was after. Now, people in the comments weren't as positive about this as me. I think that's fair to say. Someone said this: "What boundaries did you set?" I'm asking because we only have a couple of posts for insight, and from what's there, it strongly implies that she hasn't accepted responsibility nor accountability for what she did to you. Man, she didn't just break your heart, she shattered and then stomped on the pieces. Healthy relationships need trust, respect, and boundaries, and she violated all three in the most humiliating way. Is it possible that you are just fleeing back into a safe space, your marriage, that in reality doesn't exist anymore? It doesn't read like there's anything stopping her from doing this to you again. Good luck, man, but dang, what she did to you was beyond effed up. The only thing worse would be if you were now raising his kid too. Have you been intimate with her since? Have you gotten tested for STDs afterwards? You should. And if you have any kids, please test paternity so that your rights are protected. There we go, probably the opposite end of the spectrum to me. You could say that perhaps I'm being a little bit too positive, and there are still major issues that OP has to work through that this commenter has outlined, which is fair enough. He's a little bit more scathing than I am. Let me know in the comments down below. Are you more in line with this commenter or me? Anyway, this is how OP responded to that comment. So these are the boundaries. Complete access to her phone anytime. Instantly, I don't love that. I just think that you could never have that in a healthy relationship. Yes, I kind of understand it from OP's perspective that he wants to, make sure that she's not messaging anyone else or, having an affair. But can you really have that lack of a level of trust and have a good relationship, a good healthy relationship? I'm not sure. Anyway, he continues. Individual counselling for her and couples counselling for us. That makes sense. Basically, anytime I may have even a hint of suspicion of any sort of nefarious activity, I can investigate, no questions asked. This has not needed to happen because we spend nearly all of our free time together or doing our own stuff around the house. If we aren't spending time together, she's reading self-help or watching self-help on YouTube. We work the same hours, we go to the gym together, we come home. Yes, what she did was beyond screwed up. We're all on the same page with that. She says that what she did is unforgivable, that she's a huge POS, a complete freaking moron, that I deserve better. I want to make things work for the sake of the life we built over 12 years, the beautiful home and land we own together, the vast array of common interests we have together. I want to continue building memories of love and laughter and fun like we did for 12 years. There is a lot that is important to me that can be saved if the work is put in. Her estranged brother dies in front of her while she is holding his hand, and then weeks later, this guy comes into her life and love bombs her while she is still spiraling in grief. It's no excuse for what she did, but it is enough for me to give her at least some iota of grace that she was not in a sane and rational mind when this all went down. And yes, we have been having sex. No, we don't have kids. So there we go. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about this. I've got to give my thoughts, and I think this is good. I completely agree with what OP has just said at the end there. Like, it's a fact. She's gone through the most unimaginable trauma possible. I mean, think about it for a second, and I'm trying to as well. It's impossible, right? You cannot begin to empathize with somebody that has gone through this, unless you have yourself. And I'm very sorry if that's happened to you, but you know, it's a very, very rare circumstance and thing that's happened, as OP said earlier. And yeah, it's not ideal, like your wife of 7 years cheating on you or leaving you. But with this context, as I've said the whole time, I think this is the only potential, scenario in which you can kind of not allow it, but understand it and work back from it. Again, I don't really like the phone access at any time, but if you guys agree on it, that's cool. I also don't know necessarily if it's good to watch like loads and loads of self-help YouTube videos and like read loads of stuff. Maybe it is, but I think it's better to make sure you're getting information from someone that's qualified, like your therapist. I think going to therapy is obviously a great idea, but yeah, hopefully these guys just like build that trust up again over years, and then they see it looking back at their lives and relationship as a whole as just a minor blip in an otherwise extremely happy time together. With the context that sadly your wife's brother died in her arms and she had to deal with that and couldn't, because who could? Just quickly before we end things, on the phone thing, someone has said down below, which I agree with. Every time I hear of people doing these, cheating partner has agreed that I get to look through their phone anytime I want, no questions asked, full access. I've always felt that if the person actually starts looking at their phone all the time, with or without reason, that would just make things worse, cause more fights, and breed resentment. These people are always so optimistic, but I always imagine it just makes things worse and worse. Now, I agree with that, but I will say that if you aren't going to check her phone much at all, I mean, ideally ever, then that's completely fine. I'm also not entirely sure about spending all your free time together, all your lives together as well. Who knows? I mean, look, you've been together 7 years and it's worked, but I mean, has it? Yes, it has, but yeah, I don't know. Like, surely you want to have some time on your own eventually and do your own hobbies and see your own friends. And will you be able to trust her when that happens? Who knows? But yeah, genuinely, I would say that I actually wish these guys the best. So good luck, OP, and good luck, cheating wifey. Really enraged crazy mother tonight. Now she's going to give my social security number and address to scammers. My mother has been losing her mind for a while now. She has several internet boyfriends she met on Facebook, all of them famous men and all of them needing money. She has spent thousands in cash deposits, prepaid Visa gift cards, Bitcoin ATM transfers, bought plane tickets, sent them pictures of her Wells Fargo bank statements. You name a scam and she's fallen for it. I've seen the messages with my own eyes. She recently called my brother and admitted she was broke and told, not asked, told him that he needed to fix it. She received a fake $10,000 check from one of these people and deposited it into her bank account and started writing her own checks to pay her bills. All of these checks have now bounced. I'm trying to catch them and make them right so she doesn't get fraud charges on top of being broke. Her utilities were turned off this week. I fixed it. She was so far behind on her mortgage that they were going to serve her with foreclosure paperwork last Friday. My brother paid the amount due to stop that process. She literally has $100,000 plus in credit card debt and has been trying to save the money for a bankruptcy attorney. I told her I would front the retainer. This has all happened in only the last 8 days. We're $5,000 deep in stopping the bleeding, and who knows what is still coming. We made her sign power of attorney over to us on Monday as a contingency for our help. She also signed a petition for voluntary conservatorship that will have to go in front of a judge. She swore to us she was done talking to these men. I personally took her phone and deleted the apps she uses to talk to them and the hundreds of different numbers they have been using to text her from. I blocked everything I could. She swore again that she's cut all contact and would not have anything else to do with them. Last night, she accidentally texted my brother from one of the apps I positively know I deleted. So my brother and I decided that she clearly can't be trusted and doesn't need a phone with apps or internet capability. She's like a dang meth head, and we have to blow up the double wide that houses her meth lab. So I bought her a jitterbug flip phone, the only thing I could get my hands on, and activated today. I activated it, I charged it, and I preloaded it with all of the contacts I can think of that she'll need for the next few days. Doctors, friends, both of her children. I took it over to her house, grabbed her iPhone and put it in my purse. And then I pulled out the jitterbug and told her this was her new phone from right now. She flipped her wig. She demanded I give it back to her. I don't have the authority to take it away from her. She needs that phone. Then she freely admitted she's been texting at least one of the men, the leader of the pack. Of course, she re-downloaded those apps. She's in love with him, and the heart wants what it wants. I told her she'll just have to keep wanting. She's not getting her phone back. She moved to lock the door so I couldn't leave. I beat her to it and ran out to my car. I pulled off with her standing in the driveway, screaming at me. I stopped at the gas station just down from her house to sit for a second because my hands were shaking. Evidently, this gave her enough time to get past me because she beat me back to my house. My husband let her inside and made my daughter go back upstairs so she wasn't actively watching this go down. I get home and she meets me in my garage. I want my phone back, just over and over. I kept telling her no and that she needed to leave. She refused to leave without her phone. I said I'd call the police. My daughter is here and she's being erratic and she needs to leave. Finally, my husband convinced her we needed to go outside for this conversation so my daughter couldn't hear it. We go out on the front porch and this woman spit straight up venom at me for 15 solid minutes. I'm the greatest disappointment of her life. She wishes I was never born. She should have let my abusive ex-husband beat me to death instead of loaning me the retainer for my divorce attorney in 2017, because that is why she's broke. You name it, she said it. She even threatened to beat me senseless with her cane. I just kept telling her I was sorry she feels that way and I'm not giving it back, so she should leave. She finally said that she's going to make sure she gives my information to all these scammers I'm so worried about, my social security number and my address, so they can show up at my house and tell me how they really feel. And she is not responsible for whatever happens next. And then she finally left. I came inside and literally sobbed on the bathroom floor. I have been for a couple of hours now. What kind of mother tells their kid she wishes their abusive ex had succeeded in beating them to death? What kind of grandparent threatens to give out the address to the home that her grandkid lives in? I've long been suspecting some early onset dementia, and we literally had a neurologist appointment tomorrow after waiting 3 months for it. That's the thread I've been holding on to. This isn't my mother. This is the disease that's been eating her brain. She says she's not going now. I wonder if she'll still show up for the bankruptcy attorney appointment she has tomorrow that I'm supposed to be fronting. She was absolutely like an unhinged, raving addict. Just give it back for tonight and I'll give it to you in the morning. She told me she has one of his 176 numbers memorized and will just call him as soon as she gets home. She wasn't bluffing. She did add a new contact with his name, but I deleted it from the parental control app already tonight. She also said she hopes this new phone has long distance because she will stay up all night calling China so that my bill is high. I'm ready to just hand her back the dang phone and tell her to go jump. You won't get another penny from me, so don't call me or mine for another dang thing as long as you live. When these bad checks keep bouncing and they come after you with charges, I don't care. When your utilities get turned off again, sit there in the dark and use your love for this fake bar internet boyfriend to keep you alive. And when your house goes into foreclosure again, I will wave at you and your little shopping cart full of trash when I drive by you on the street. I'm just so done right now. So done. Oh god, there we go. That is just awful. Now, coming up, we have a part 2 to this, a continuation of this, where things somehow get even worse. But for now, I've just got to say, Again, I don't ever really blame somebody for getting scammed. Yes, you could say they should know better, but realistically, it happens to everyone, and I know it's a bit mean to say, oh, come on, that was so obvious, even though it probably was, like in this situation. So I do feel like, you know, empathy and sympathy is the best way to go about these sort of things when they do happen. However, when the person that's been scammed has this sort of reaction, and is just completely like negligent to what's gone on, and cannot see that they're being scammed, despite it going on for so long and everyone around them saying, you're being an idiot now, you're letting this happen again and again and again. No, these people do not love you, they just want your money, and they're plunging you into a world of debt and darkness. Can you not see that? If they don't see that, then yeah, they've got themselves to blame at this point. It's ridiculous. And OP, I think you're doing your best here. You really are. I don't know really what else you can do apart from just call the police and the FBI, because if your mum is threatening to leak your social security and your address, that is endangering you. So, I mean, that is the only logical next step. Anyway, that was posted 2 months ago. And just 1 day ago at the time of recording, we got this update. I mean, it's not really an update, it's more an addition. But yeah, posted on r/entitledparents just 1 day ago. Mum got scammed again, and now I'm done. My 68-year-old mother is losing her mind and has been for a while now. We knew she'd been conversing with several people online for over a year, most of which claimed to be famous men and all of which needed money for various things. We'd been telling her since December that she was being scammed. We tried involving DHR and the agency who helps protect seniors, all falling on deaf ears. Courts won't do anything without a medical diagnosis, neurologist appointments take months, so we're just stuck trying to keep her from self-destructing until then. That is one thing that I failed to mention as well, actually, guys. If she does have a neurological disorder or disease, then I kind of take back what I've said, and she does need help. If she doesn't, then I 100% stick by what I said. But yeah, if she's not even willing to get a neurological appointment, then I don't know, it's tough. End of February, she finally admits she needs help. Okay, that is good. Actually, she called my brother and said she was broke and that he needed to fix her. But we'll say that was asking for help. Per the bank, her home was a few hours from going into foreclosure on the day we got the call from her, and her utilities were turned off the very next week. She has over $100,000 in credit card debt, most of it from sending these men pictures of every single credit card she has. She also gave them all of her bank account information and sent at least $30,000 in cash via Bitcoin ATMs or prepaid gift cards. I'm not sure I'll ever know exactly what she has spent on them, but I do know that she owes $7,000 in taxes this year from all the withdrawals she made to her retirement, which she freely admits she sent to these men. She also still swears every one of them are actually all the celebrities they claim to be, and still truly believes that one of them is the love of her life. My brother and I told her the only way we'd help is if she gave us power of attorney, which she did. We then caught up her house payments and reconnected the utilities. I've been going through her bills as I pay all of them and trying to help her budget, including finding her cheaper internet, TV and cell phone plans so she'll be able to pay her own bills going forward on her fixed income. She has been beyond nasty to me every step of the way, telling me what a disappointment I am and she wishes I was never born. There have been unalive threats, to which she laughed in my face and told the police she would never do anything that dramatic. She calls me almost daily and tells me she fell, only for myself or the ambulance to rush over and have her admit that she wasn't actually hurt, but was hoping a trip to the ER would get her pain meds. I took her phone, created a new Apple ID, and had it set so she couldn't text or call anyone not saved in her contacts, and she can't add people or numbers or apps without my approval. That was the only thing, short of changing her number, that I could do to stop her contact with these scammers. She adamantly refused to change the number because she's had that one for 30 plus years, but she's still been getting hundreds of texts from 6-digit numbers, I'm guessing because she responded to them in the past, so they were able to get around the block. I've told her 1,000 times not to even open them, delete them, or send them to junk. She had hip replacement surgery this past week. While in the hospital, she received a text telling her she won a free oxygen machine. Call this number to claim your prize. She texts me and tells me she needs to add this number to her phone because it's a home health medical equipment company and she wants to talk to them about Life Alert, so I add their number. She calls and they tell her she just needs to give them her bank account information to cover the shipping, and she gives it to them. Then she calls to crow about her winnings. I call the same number, and what do you know, I'm also an instant winner if I just give them my bank account information. Hit 0 to speak with a person, and now I've won a free year of DirecTV. Hit 0 again, and now I've won a free year of pest control from Terminix if I just enter my bank account information. So, a total scam that my mother has again fallen for while laying in her hospital bed recovering from surgery. Like the last 2 months didn't happen, like she's learned nothing from this whole experience. She doesn't even need an oxygen machine, but decided that since her parents had breathing issues at the end of their lives, and because it was free, this opportunity was too good to pass up in case she needs one later. She tells me just to call them back and cancel, because I'm sure the kind phone scammers will totally forget your bank account info if I just ask nicely. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, she's been showing signs of progressive dementia and is at moderate/moderately severe cognitive decline on the staging models. So I get it, this is the new normal for her. She no longer possesses the mental capacity to understand real from fake, and she will continue to fall for stuff like this as long as she is alive. And I can't do anything to stop it. I can just crawl along behind her and try to fix it while hoping she shows up to the neuro in May so I can get the courts to intervene. She'll always be a danger to herself and her own well-being, with the added bonus of being awful to me every step of the way. So, I've decided that I'm done trying to save her from herself. I'm opening another new bank account for her tomorrow and putting what little money she still has in it. I've turned off all the automatic payments that have been coming out of my account, and I'll be turning off all of the parental controls that I'd established on her electronics. Then I'm telling her, good luck, don't call me when you're on fire again, and then I'm blocking her on my phone. My brother and I believe she'll be in a mess again by the 4th of July. Her problem, not ours. I've had a heart issue for 2 years now. Inappropriate sinus tachycardia that isn't responding to medications. Both of my cardiologists have told me that stress is exacerbating my condition. I've lost 25 pounds over the last 3 months, which I'm also chalking up to stress. I literally cannot explain the peace I feel in my soul tonight, knowing that I've done everything I could for this woman, and now I just get to be done tomorrow. It's complicated and sad and frustrating because, oh, how I've tried to help her, and I know how this will end, but it's also very calming to know that I'm done. I am free. Well, I guess ultimately my reaction to this is that it's just really sad, really. I mean, if this is down to dementia or some sort of cognitive decline or, neurological disease that your mum now has, OP, then I don't know, it's sad. I mean, I could just say that, oh, it's such a shame that scammers like this exist and we need to crack down on them. Ultimately, they're always going to be around, and there's very little you can do, I think, to stop them, given that, the majority are abroad. But, I mean, maybe it's just one of those things where the government in whichever country this is taking place in has to, I don't know, create some sort of new scheme or just create more protection or put something in place to help elderly people in these sort of situations. Then again, like, what are you supposed to do when your own mum is refusing to go to neurological appointments that would then allow her to get the help that she needs? But then again, is that her fault because she has this disease in the first place? It's really, really tough. From your perspective, OP, I would say that it's hard, but could you not just go one little bit further and just force her to go to this appointment and then be done with it? I don't know. I mean, clearly this is having a massive impact on your life anyway, and it's easy for me to say that sitting here when you're the one that's lost 25 pounds because of stress and has a heart disease. What do you think? Get in the comments down below. Is OP correct at this moment to just say, you know what, I've tried all I can. This is having a real detriment on my life now. Not just my mental well-being, but my physical health as well is seriously declining. Should they do what they've done? Or could they just go a little bit further, get it done, and then be done with it? Because I just worry for your mum. It doesn't seem to me as if she's intending any malice by this. She's just in a terrible situation and is being exploited. But yeah, let me know what you think down below. Very, very tough one. My brother-in-law just told my wife he is in love with her. So, yesterday, my brother-in-law, out of the blue, asked my wife if she can meet him for lunch. There is something he needs to talk to her about. My wife tells me about it before accepting and asks if it might have something to do with my sister. Maybe they're having problems and he wants to discuss with another woman. I find it odd, but I tell her to go and find out. So, she accepts and they meet for lunch at a place near her office the next day. That is where he tells her that he is in love with her. He lays it on thick. How beautiful she is, how she makes him feel, how he would treat her if she were his, how it was love at first sight, blah blah blah. Mind you, this man is married to my sister and has 2 kids. He and my wife had a friendly relationship. Our families see each other often as we are a close family. He does text her frequently, but there was nothing overly sexual. My brother-in-law texts and calls my mum too, so none of us thought anything of it. I want to stop for a moment and emphasize that my wife isn't cheating on me with him. My wife and I share an iPad and I see every one of her texts from there. We're also looking at each other's phones all the time, so none of that is going on. So she doesn't let him finish. She walks out and calls me immediately to tell me what happened. While she's on the phone with me, the text from him starts. He didn't mean it, he thinks it's only infatuation, blah blah blah. She leaves work early to come home to talk to me about this, and her phone is blowing up the entire time with calls and texts from him. I tell her to answer and she puts him on speaker so I can hear. He is crying, begging not to tell my sister. Apparently, when we were together this past weekend, he thought that she was flirting with him, and he thought they had a moment when they were alone in our kitchen. Now, my wife is a major ballbuster, and I suppose I can see how that can be taken as flirting. He asks if she told me, to which I answer yes as I'm on speaker. Then he starts begging me. This went on for a while. My main question was whether he had cheated on my sister before. He said no and swore on his kids' lives. It's just my wife. He said I should understand. So I'm done listening at that point, and I told him I wasn't going to do anything tonight and I would call him tomorrow. That is where we are right now, and I really don't know what to do. My wife says drive over there right now and tell my sister, but the idea of wrecking my sister's family is killing me. Thinking about what it would do to my nieces makes me want to vomit. I know the right thing to do is to tell my sister, but I'm also thinking about my wife as well. It's not her fault, but there is sure to be resentment towards her from my family. Even if my sister doesn't divorce him and they reconcile, I can't see how we're ever together again like we were before, if at all. This whole episode can tear my family apart. I don't give a dang about him, he tried to destroy my family, but I do care about everyone else. I don't know what to do. Any advice will help. Okay, so as I said in the intro, there are a couple of updates to this one, so we are going to see how this was resolved. But off the bat, I do just have to say that personally, in this situation, you have to tell your sister, like, as quickly as you can. It's not going to be a good conversation. It's not going to be fun, but I think you need to tell her. I'm sorry, there's no other way around it. Also, yeah, I agree with you. There might be some resentment towards your wife from your family, but ultimately, it's not her fault. It is your brother-in-law that's done this. And the main thing is, yeah, you got to tell your sister as quickly as you can. Well, that's my opinion anyway. Let's see what actually happened. So, everyone that told me last night that I couldn't wait to tell my sister was right. A little after 12 last night, I get a call from my sister, and she says that she has to tell me that my wife tried to begin an affair with her husband. So he tried to pin it on her. I told her that's not the case, and I'll be right over. So I get on the phone, wake my mother and father, tell them what's going on. I wake my younger brother, I tell him. My mum and dad head to my sister's to sit with their kids, and my brother comes to our house to sit with ours, and my wife and I head over. My sister is out on the front porch with my brother-in-law when we get there. He looks beaten. He knows we have texts and voicemail. I really don't know what he was hoping to accomplish. My wife gives my sister her phone. She sees the text, listens to the voicemails, and he starts sobbing before she can say anything. My brother-in-law is a firefighter, a big, tough guy, so this is a scene. My sister's pretty tough. She tells him to stop it, pack a bag, and go. She can't stand to look at him. There's more begging, but she has no patience for it. My sister walks off to talk with my wife. I see them hugging, so at least I feel like they are okay. They've actually been friends since college. I met my wife through my sister, so they're tight. The thought of this wrecking her friendship had been weighing on me. This leaves me with my brother-in-law. He is broken, so I feel more sympathy than anger. He says he's sorry, he just couldn't help it. It's not hard to fall in love with my wife, so I get it, but dang, man. He eventually picks himself up and leaves. So we're there all night. My sister starts asking my wife why her husband would think any of this would work out. He had to have some reason to believe that she felt the same way. My sister says they hadn't been having any problems. Everything was as it always had been. My wife is crying at this point and says there's nothing you haven't seen. She gives my sister her phone again, and they read every text ever sent over the past 2 years. There's nothing there. My wife was just herself. Yeah, she has a playful personality, and so does my brother-in-law, so they tease each other. She does the same to my mum and younger brother as well. The only thing she could think of was the moment in the kitchen this past weekend he referenced. They both went for the fridge at the same time, and they playfully jostled for who would get there first. He lets her win, but he reaches around her waist to get a beer slowly, and she did feel that the way that he did it was a little inappropriate. She says she should have called him on it, but didn't want to make it a big thing. She feels maybe the fact that she didn't gave him hope. My sister doesn't blame her, so at least that is good. So then my sister starts going through his MacBook to see what else she doesn't know about. She is angry and frantic at this point. She guesses the password, starts searching, and finds a lot of pictures of my wife on that computer. They went back years and always isolated on just her. We'd gone as couples to the Caribbean a few years earlier. My wife wore a bikini. She usually doesn't, but since it was adults only, she did. There were probably 50 of her in that bathing suit. So he's been secretly snapping these for years. Does this now enter restraining order territory? This has taken a creepy turn. I'll update when I have more. Alright, there is another update to get into, of course, but first of all, let's jump into some comments from Redditors down below. Somebody said, the fact that you so casually said that you wouldn't do anything tonight and you would call him tomorrow and not tell your sister ASAP is highly suspect. I can't imagine a situation where any man would want to have lunch with my wife alone to share something with her, and I'd be okay with that. You really said wait until tomorrow after he professed his undying love to your wife? Something is afoot, and there's more to the story that you're not sharing. Now, OP replied to this saying, we are all pretty close. My sister and my wife are college friends, and we are family. I know this guy well. He's not a stranger. I just needed some time to process. My whole life just changed. Yeah, I completely agree with OP here. I think there's a lot more nuance to this than just saying, oh my goodness, some random man wants to have a lunch alone with my wife and has professed his undying love for her. Not really, there's a lot more going on, surely. I mean, you have to think about multiple people involved here, not just the fact that this one thing has happened. So yeah, I feel like what OP did was kind of fair. But again, I do think perhaps he should have gone immediately and just said, realistically, we've got to tell her. Now, someone else quoted OP when he said, he does text her frequently, but there was nothing overly sexual, saying, so since the constant texts to your wife from your sister's husband were only a bit sexual, you let it slide? Anyways, I can't believe you didn't go straight to your sister and tell her and beat his butt. OP replied, the text never crossed a line. I've seen all of them and he knows that. We are family. It never occurred to me or my wife that things could take this turn. Like I said, my wife is a ballbuster and she treated him like a brother, like family. Yeah, I will agree a little bit with the original commenter here saying that he does text her frequently, but there was nothing overly sexual. Is a bit of a weird thing to say. I mean, you'd hope that there'd be nothing sexual at all. I mean, not even a little bit in conversations with your wife and your brother-in-law, but I mean, who knows? Anyway, let's get on to the next updates. I've shared many of your comments with my wife. It makes her feel better that virtually everyone here holds her blameless. So thank you. Yeah, I mean, she's definitely not to blame. Being a little bit flirty, I mean, not that she's being flirty, but even entertaining a little bit of a joke or something with a family member, right, is not even close to sort of opening yourself up to being hit on or something like that, or, you know, encouraging someone to say, I'm in love with you. This guy is just in love with you, and that's not her own fault. Well, I mean, he's not really in love, is he? He's just completely infatuated, but yeah, she's not to blame for that. OP continues. Unfortunately, the mess continues. My sister agreed to talk to her husband last night and let him explain. She puts my wife on FaceTime during this conversation, so there will be no lying. I'm listening in as well off camera. My sister is also recording the whole thing. He admits that he's been obsessed with my wife for years. It started the day he met her. My wife and I were dating at the time, but he met my wife before he met me. Like I said, my wife and sister are long-time friends, and my sister wanted to introduce her boyfriend to her friends. He thought it was only physical for a while, but over time, he knew it was more. My sister nearly kicks him out right there, but listens a little more, and she eventually asks what made him think that my wife would leave me for him. He answers that there is obviously mutual attraction, and he figured it would begin as an affair, and then things would progress from there. Oh my goodness me, my friend, you are not helping yourself saying that. My wife and sister explode at that point. A lot of cussing, a lot of screaming. The phone call's over. My wife hangs up because at this point she is concerned for me. She's shaken and distraught. She assures me the attraction was one-sided. I never thought it wasn't. Even if she did find him physically attractive, I know she'd never act on it. She's just not the type. Early on in our relationship, she caught me admiring her as she was dressing, asked if I liked what I saw before her face turned cold and told me never to screw up or I'd never see it again. She meant it. She is serious about trust. Anyway, I knew my brother-in-law was a little cocky, but my God, I never knew he thought that highly of himself to be able to pull off something like this. I talked to my sister later on, and she is contacting the lawyer Monday to see what steps she can take to limit his exposure to her kids. As far as she is concerned, he is detached from reality. That's all I have for now. I'll update once the dust settles a bit. And don't worry, there is one final update to come. First of all, let's get into this singular comment. Somebody said, "My wife and I were talking about this, and that is what we thought. He wanted to start an affair and then go from there. There's no way to recover from asking your sister-in-law to have an affair if the feeling isn't mutual. You've torched everything. Incredibly high-risk gambit with a low success potential. But he would have done this sooner or later, with or without the kitchen incident. Absolutely right, in my opinion." OP replies, saying that he had made comments to me many times through the years that my wife was out of my league. I would just laugh and agree. She is. I guess he thought his gamble was not so high risk. Alright then, let's get into the final update. This was posted on April 17th, 2024, just 1 week ago at the time of recording. This is likely to be my final update, as I don't see much more happening after this besides divorce proceedings. Thanks for all the comments, they've helped my wife with some of the guilt. Anyway, my brother-in-law returned home yesterday, not because my sister wants him back, but because she can't legally stop him. They are done, I think he realizes that now. The lawyer tells my sister that since my brother-in-law's behaviour over the past few days has been documented, there's a good chance she'll be granted full custody. I mean, that is I keep forgetting that they've got 2 kids. What an idiot this man is. Anyway, he doesn't seem to even want to fight her on that. My sister will be fine. Any love she had for him is gone, and she doesn't seem too broken up about it. The kids don't know what happened yet, but my brother-in-law was never around much anyway when the kids were home. He slept at the fire station many nights and put in a lot of overtime, but it's certain to be hard on them once they know what's going to happen. Many commenters have said that there must be more women, but as far as we can tell, there hasn't been. It's really just the obsession with my wife. She has blocked his phone, but on the same night he returned home, he sends my wife an email from an account he just made. It started with an apology, but then took a turn. He said he never got to finish at the restaurant that day. Then he went on for paragraphs and paragraphs about all the things he loves about my wife and the desperation he felt that led him to do what he did. He mentioned their mutual attraction again and the sexual tension that he always felt was between them, and ended with a rather large section about me. Let's just say I didn't know he had such a low opinion of me. He was quite certain that I was not satisfying my wife properly. This guy is just a creep. Finally, my wife isn't great, but she's doing better every day. She does blame herself for being too comfortable around my brother-in-law. She's always careful to set boundaries with other men. In case you haven't figured it out already, my wife is pretty stunning and gets a lot of male attention. But with my brother-in-law, she felt safe to be herself since it was family. Surely no lines would be crossed. She and my sister are cool and there doesn't appear to be any resentment, so that makes me happy. We will all be okay, it will just take time. Thanks to all who commented and voiced their supports. Right then, let's round things off with a couple of comments. Somebody said, "What a bomb that he threw in to blow everything up. Please take steps to secure your home and car. Recommend a restraining order so he can't come around trying to explain or convince or apologize to your wife. Hoping your sister can do what needs to be done and can move on to a better life." OP replied, "I don't think my brother-in-law is dangerous, just conceited. The guy was quite the ladies' man before getting married and still got plenty of attention even after. His ego is bruised, but I do have cameras and an alarm." Somebody else said, "Thank you for sharing this sad story. It's been helpful for me. My wife has been casually pursued by a married member of my club, and she is usually too surprised and modest to assume what he's after. When he first started, my wife thought it was just harmless banter, but I didn't, and I told her I didn't think so. As it continued, she finally realized I was right. So when I had to tell him to knock it off, she was relieved. It took 3 incidents for him to finally get the message." OP replied, My wife is mad at herself because she is usually so careful. She's had so many incidents when she was younger with guys she was friendly to that ended up making unwanted advances. And that's good and all, but I do agree with OP that surely you wouldn't have to think about that sort of thing around your own family. Like, surely there's a barrier there where you think, okay, I can fully be myself now. I'm around people who aren't attracted to me, or at least, I mean, that's a weird thing to say, thinking that, you know, aren't attracted to me, but at least aren't going to pursue me. You'd hope they're not attracted to you anyway. But yeah, you think at least they're not going to try and, like, you know, get with me or something, or profess their undying love to me. I can be a little bit, you know, jokey and not flirty, but yeah, just be yourself and be a funny, fun person and not really care about what you're doing. But I mean, apparently not. Apparently there are guys out there that are creepy like this, that despite being married to somebody who is, you know, in that same household, I presume, a lot of the time, doesn't really care. And yeah, just says, no, I'm going for you anyway. Overall, I guess a pretty actually scary situation for your wife, OP. First of all, because she probably had no idea that this guy was obsessed with her. I mean, when you think about it and you realize that this guy, who I presume you fully trusted, had dozens and dozens of pictures of you in a bathing suit without you knowing, and that is mental, then acted on it and was willing to just fully kind of destroy his entire life for you, and, you know, is also a man and you're a woman. I mean, that is just pretty scary how obsessive he became. Then on top of that, you have the feeling of guilt and feeling like you're potentially to blame by your own actions encouraging him, even though obviously that isn't the case. It's, yeah, a terrible situation, and I hope that she gets through it all right. Also a terrible situation for OP's sister, because she's the one that's had all this happen to her in the first place, and her family. I mean, imagine, yeah, being the kids and then realizing that your dad is trying to get, or has professed his undying love for your mum's brother's wife. Very, very strange situation. So yeah, I feel for everyone involved in this, apart from, of course, this idiot. Would I be the jerk for cancelling my brother's wedding? This was originally posted on February the 25th, 2024. I am a 31-year-old woman, and I have a 28-year-old brother who is hoping to get married to his fiancée, who's 25. They've been in a relationship for a long time. They have kids and a house together, so she isn't someone who is new to the family. We're all European, but I own a gorgeous house in Colorado. It's in the middle of the mountains, surrounded by forests, has huge windows looking out on my acres surrounding. It truly is stunning and a dream come true. A couple of months ago, my brother came to me and asked me if they could use my house for a destination wedding. While I was hesitant to host a goddamn wedding in the house of my dreams, I can absolutely understand how my dream home is her dream venue. I told him they absolutely could, but they had some rules to follow, despite me not living there. First of all, no more than 25 guests. It truly is in the middle of nowhere, so guests would have to sleep at the house, and I simply do not have room for more. Second, nothing that permanently alters anything in or around the house. Third, no smoking indoors. And fourth, any damage done by them or their guests would have to be paid for. Since I'm quite protective of the house, I offer to decorate and find a caterer, and that would be my gift to them. So I'm providing them with a venue, food, and decorations. I'm currently almost 10k into my gift because it's my brother's wedding and it's what I wanted to do. Wow, that is unbelievably generous. Well, now poop has hit the fan. His fiancée decided she needed at least 45 guests. While I was willing to be flexible by 1 or 2, 20? No. I asked her if she wanted to stack them and she got salty. On top of that, she wants me to pay to fly her family in because I fronted the money to my other brother. He's paying me back because he couldn't afford a ticket. I told her no, and again, I got sassed. On top of that, she wants me to build a pergola, which I actually considered, paint my living room, covering up the beautiful wood, so F no, and also pay for the drinks. I said no, I've done enough. She, though, has now taken it upon herself to tell people that I am going back on my promises, that I left her hanging, that she can't afford the super expensive wedding I made her plan, and even went as far as to uninvite my grandparents just to spite me. Her words were, "You wanted me to cut back on guests, so I'm picking your family." I'm getting at least 2 messages a day asking me why I'm ruining her day, if I'm jealous, etc. Today, she called me to tell me that if I keep going out of my way to make her miserable, me and my, quote, rescues, 2 of my children are adopted, would not be invited either. While I find it absurd that she thinks she can uninvite me from my own house, the fact that she referred to my kids as rescues has me absolutely fuming. I'm considering cancelling the whole thing, but I would then be royally screwing over my brother in the process, who's done nothing wrong. So, is her trash show overshadowing my need to protect my brother from a giant financial hole? I don't know. Okay, now before we get into my thoughts on this, first of all, there's a little bit more context needed. OP answered a few comments down below. A lot of people are asking about the second house in general, where it is, whose exactly it is, how it works, etc. OP said this: I purchased this house after it had been on the market for close to 2 years. It was in complete disrepair, and I spent a little over a year of my life restoring, not renovating it, to its original glorious state. I've spent a lot of money, love, and time on this house, and had anyone wanted it, it would have been purchased somewhere in the 2 years it was on the market. By that logic, should I no longer buy that last block of cheese at the supermarket because someone else might want it? Not park anywhere because someone else could want to park there? I might move into this home, I might not. Now, OP actually added before that they do not live in Colorado. They all live in their home country in Europe. But, I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a second house, I don't think. I mean, who am I kidding? If I had enough money to have a second house, I'd definitely have one. OP continues saying, also, happy to see you're getting your cardio in by jumping to conclusions. The house is currently being used by a friend who needs to get back on his feet and has been for the past 8 months. Now, I think this sort of line and tone from OP is coming as a response to a few commenters saying, why are you being so kind of, I guess, selfish in a way? No one's living in that house. No one's using that house. Yes, you own it, of course, but you're not in it at that time. Why not just let your brother and his fiance have it and don't be difficult about it? Now, that's not what I would personally think here at all. In fact, I think the complete opposite. But OP ends by saying, I work hard for what I have, and if I want to spend it having the home of my dreams, just in case I someday want to live there, that is my choice, and I completely agree on that. Now, someone else asked for some more information. Does your brother know that she is behaving in this way? Have you spoken to him about this behavior? OP says, I have. Almost everything goes through text message, so I screen grab the outrageous nonsense. He claims the pressure of planning a wedding has gotten to her and that I should try and be patient. Now, somebody else asked about the logistics of fitting 25 people into this house. I was actually thinking about this myself. It must be a pretty nice big house if you can fit 25 people in. They asked exactly that. How big is it so that you can accommodate up to 25 guests overnight? OP says it's decently big. The sleeping arrangements wouldn't be luxurious though. Think a combination of sleeping on couches, blow-up mattresses, and sharing beds. Not ideal, but it would have worked for 1 or 2 nights. I guess the conclusion here is that, yes, 25 is doable at a push, but any more is really not feasible. And 20 more, taking it to 45 guests in total, is just never ever going to happen. Okay, so my initial thoughts off the bat after reading the original post and getting the context of these comments here is that if it's your house, you can do whatever you want with it. Simple as that. I don't think there's any sort of requirement or need for you to share it with somebody just because they are a relation to you or they're in a time of need or whatever. Like, yes, it's a nice thing to do. And let's be honest, OP has been so selfless here. I mean, not just the saying, yes, you can use the house, obviously for the venue, but all the other stuff as well. You know, 10,000, whatever currency it is, $10,000 or euros has been put into the gift of, you know, redecorating, getting the food in, etc. And then you're housing everyone as well afterwards. It's not just the venue. You're saying, okay, 25 people can stay there. Like, you're putting in a lot of work here just to be nice to your brother, and it's just getting thrown back in your face by his, I'm sorry to say it, but terribly entitled fiance. Like, why is she trying to extract as much from you as she can? Can she not just be really like grateful that you're doing so much anyway? Why does it have to be another 20 guests? Why is it, oh, now are you jealous? Are you trying to ruin my life? Well, no, ruining your life, or I guess like, not helping you, would be saying, okay, where's my invite to the wedding? Where's the venue? You know, where's all the guests? Yeah, I'll get you a gift or whatever, but I mean, you're going to have to pay a lot of money for all this. I mean, like tens of thousands of dollars. But no, you're getting all that for free because you have a very kind future sister-in-law, but you just can't see that? I don't know. Anyway, let's get into the first update for this one. This was posted just 5 days after the original. Then there's actually another update that was posted just a few days ago at the time of recording. Okay, then here we go. First of all, I do want to address one thing. To those claiming that I'm a jerk because I'm contributing to the housing crisis by owning a house I don't live in, I'm not. This is a house so deep in the mountains that I need to drive 50 minutes to go do groceries. The internet is so bad that I'm waiting for even Starlink to start covering the area. And when it snows, you sure as heck aren't going anywhere. This is not a house built for living in full time. On top of that, it was on the market for close to 2 years and was in complete disrepair. I did not steal some family's home. Nobody wanted it. The fact that this is a dream home is because I spent a year of my life restoring the whole thing myself. Okay, I understand now. So I guess that's what people were annoyed with, the fact that somebody owns 2 homes. I am not even going to bother trying to act as if I care about that sort of thing. I feel like if you're able to buy a second home, buy a second home, especially if it's in a different country. It's not as if you're taking away homes from people that are looking or don't have one. I don't think anyway. Maybe a tiny bit, but come on, let's be realistic. But I will say, guys, if you disagree with me or you agree with me, get in the comments down below. Let me know why I'm right or wrong. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Anyway, now onto the update, says OP. I heard they were visiting my parents and I drove down as well. Mostly because I wanted people present to witness the conversation. I told her and my brother that since my home did not suit her needs and it was stressing her out to the point that she was calling my children names, I no longer felt like I was giving them the appropriate gift by supplying a venue, caterer, and decorations. I just realized, guys, that is one thing I failed to even talk about, but it's probably the most horrible thing that I've read in a long time. Calling your adopted children rescues is crazy. I mean, it's obvious that this woman, this fiance, is a terrible person anyway, but that is just insane. Anyway, OP continues. I said that I felt like in my efforts to protect my home, I was limiting their options too much, standing in the way of their dream wedding, and as a result would no longer be hosting. My brother actually seemed relieved, admitted to not quite wanting a destination wedding, and that things got a little out of hand during the planning phase. Thanked me for my willingness to help and offered to pay me back for the deposits that I'm losing, which I appreciated but declined. His SO, however, accused me of being petty and jealous because I'm single and no one wants me, and going out of my way to cause her stress and ruin her day. She then pointed at my 2 youngest children and said, "You're doing more for strangers than you are your own family." Oh, wow. The kids are luckily young enough so they didn't catch on to this, but my older 2 did and were absolutely shocked. So were my parents. I told her she had all of 3 seconds to get out of my line of sight before I'd be bringing hellfire down on her, while instructing my children to leave the room. My father stepped in, said it would indeed be better for her to leave, and told my brother that he was sorry but that this is unacceptable. My brother agreed, took his family home, and has since called me to apologise and to say that the wedding planning has been put on hold until she comes to her senses. So thanks for the input and help all. I'm happy it didn't end up all too dramatic. Now that was it for the first update, but as I said, there was a second to come. This was posted 2 months later, just a week ago at the time of recording on April the 28th, 2024. But before we get to that, I know I have to talk about it. What the heck? If you are OP's brother and your fiance is saying you look after strangers ahead of your own family, talking about your adopted children, how are you still with that person? I'm sorry, it just makes no sense. Anyway, let's get into the update. OP says, the wedding was yesterday, and to my surprise, myself and all of my children were invited. I at first declined, but was eventually mellowed down by the fact that it was my little brother's big day. I went last minute shopping so we'd be able to adhere to the dress code, and I even texted the bride photos of the outfits, saying, "Is this okay?" She was very civil, very polite, and even seemed grateful that we'd show up after all. The wedding starts. My brother, his wife, and their children all look extremely happy and beautiful. It was a beautiful wedding, and I began to think that all the dust had settled. Until this morning, I woke up to a text message from Amy, my now sister-in-law, explaining that she and my brother were both very disappointed that I hadn't gifted them the amount in cash that I would have spent on decor and food had the wedding been in my house. I'm yet to respond. Frankly, I'm hurt because I thought they were reaching out to repair our relationship, but instead, they just wanted me to gift roughly 10 times of what I gifted them, despite me already losing out because of the deposits. So, I'm considering going no contact and completely walking away. I would miss my nibblings immensely, and I dread the idea of dividing my family like that, as our parents and extended family would be forced to navigate around the whole issue. But at this point, I'm just so hurt and angry. So to those of you whose relationship survived the whole Bridezilla saga, what did you do? How did you do it? Was it worth it? Now, guys, if you're watching this or listening to this and you are one of those people, get your comments in down below. How? Now, OP has actually added one more little update just a day later, saying this. As many of you suggested, I contacted my brother, and in the midst of small talk, I asked him if he was pleased with my gift. He expressed being surprised with the fact they still got one, given the fact that I'd already lost money in the deposits. Yes, I mean, that is so obvious, by the way. Clearly, the brother didn't say, oh yeah, I'm disappointed with only getting 1k. It was obvious that his new wife had said, oh yeah, it's actually me and him as well that were really disappointed with only getting 1k, when in reality, it was obviously just her. When I tell you my blood boils, continued OP. Now, I have never in my life done something petty, recovering people pleaser here. But in that moment, I decided to return the jerkery in kind. Family dynamics be danged. First of all, I told my brother. He apologized and told me to ignore it. I told him I wouldn't be doing that. He said, well, I can't stop you, and said he'd never take away my spot in my nibbling's life. So I screen grabbed everything and I took it to social media. I tagged her, my brother, our parents, her siblings and parents, and went on this incredibly passive-aggressive, childish rant on how I wanted to avoid misunderstandings within my social and family circle, and how sorry I was that my efforts weren't to the bride's liking. Now that is such a good way of doing it, by the way. Not just going full throttle at her, saying, look everyone, this person's horrible and this is why. Saying, oh, I've tried my best, but I just couldn't do enough. In reality, showing people how horrible she is, but not forcing that down their throats. Anyway, OP says, my post went up about 3 hours ago, and the only message I've opened so far is my brother's, stating, roughly translated, woke up and chose violence, huh? He doesn't seem to care. I'll be going no contact with my sister-in-law for the foreseeable future, and I'm now 100% done with this nonsense. Thank you for the advice all. Yeah, I think that's a logical conclusion to this one, really. I think that is what you have to do. Again, I'm not entirely sure why your brother is still with this woman. The fact that they do have kids gives me more of a reason as to why that might be the case. But still, surely like you look at your partner's actions throughout all of this and think, do I really want to be with them? Like, it is a choice being with somebody, you know, in a relationship. I know you've got kids, but come on. Like, how can you be with someone like that? I don't personally know. But maybe your brother's just so used to it now, or there's other stuff and she actually is all right at certain times. She just can be horrible like this, and your brother's like, you know what? When she's being like this, I don't care. When she's nice, yeah, that's why I'm with her. Who knows? I think we need some more context there. But just from what we've seen, based on OP's post here, I don't get it. Let me know in the comments down below. Do you reckon that OP is only telling us the bad side or the bad parts about her new sister-in-law? Or do you think she is just a terrible person? I mean, again, I go back to it. The rescues comment is mental. Am I the joke for... What? Am I the jerk for divorcing my wife over getting a massage? Now, the original post of this one came on April the 16th, 2024. My soon-to-be ex-wife and I are both in our late 30s. We've been together 12 years, married for 10. We are in a dead bedroom. It was totally dead for 6 months before I filed for divorce. It was on life support / ICU for 5 to 6 years before that. We both wanted to be younger parents and both wanted 2 kids. We conceived our daughter almost immediately after getting married. When she was 6 months old, we started trying to have the second child. It never happened. After 3 years, we started seeing fertility specialists and we found out that we both have pretty serious reproductive issues. The doctor told us that our daughter was nothing short of a miracle and said that it was against all odds that we not only conceived but carried to term. It was after this that the sex life began to seriously decline. Initially, I thought it was just the pain of finding out and knowing we wouldn't be able to afford the fertility options, and figured it would get better over time. It never did though, it only got worse. 5 years ago, I would say we had sex 15 to 20 times that year. In 2023, we had sex 3 times. I've tried everything to improve this, spicing things up, talking. I suggested counselling. I more than pull my weight around the house. We both work basically the same hours. I'm saying this because the usual stuff I read on Reddit is about how the wife does it all, but this is not even close to true here. Over time, I've grown more and more resentful. The thing that makes me the most resentful is she knows I have a high libido and just doesn't care. I, on the other hand, know that she loves to be rubbed on or massaged, and I never took that from her. I probably rub on her 325 times a year. Almost every night I'll rub her calves, shins, ankles and feet. 4 to 5 nights a month I'll go big and do neck, shoulder, back, butt, hamstring, quads, shins, calves, ankles and feet. I noticed that doing the big massages was the best way to get sex, as she was more likely to allow me to do the foreplay things that I know work on her if I had already done this prep. I did them more often a few years ago, but now not as much. The success rate was never that great, maybe 20% of the time, but in the last 2 years, we're definitely in the single digits. When we hit the 4 months of absolutely no sex, I decided that I wasn't going to massage her ever again. It only took 3 days for her to notice, and she asked me to. I told her no, and I got angry. I said, why should I when you don't give a frick about what I want? Obviously, not my finest moment, and a huge argument followed. Things got ice cold at home, but I wasn't giving in. I was tired of all of it. A few weeks ago, she told me, fine, I'll just start seeing a professional masseuse. I said, well, then I will start seeing sex workers. She said that was cheating. I said, fine, I won't, but you won't get a massage from anyone else. That is also cheating. She said that I was being ridiculous, and I said, no, it's being touched in an intimate way by another. If I can't have that, neither can you, and I swear to fricking God, if you do, I will file for divorce that day. The following weekend, she went to get her nails done. Now I know how long it takes for her to get her nails done. She came back almost an hour and a half later than I expected. She didn't say anything, just acted normally. I got on her credit card app on my phone, and sure enough, there was a $95 charge to the goddamn massage person in the same strip mall as the nail place. I lost it. And when I did, so did she. I think we both let out years of frustration on each other. True to my word though, I called a divorce lawyer on Monday. The only part that upset me was my lawyer said that based on these circumstances, I couldn't list infidelity as the reason for divorce, and instead I'd have to go with irreconcilable differences. Anyway, she's been telling people that we are divorcing because she got a massage. Since then, I've had a number of family members and friends call me and say I'm a jerk. Some of them, even when I tell them my real reasons, still think that I'm a jerk and that my reasons aren't good enough. Personally, I think that getting a massage when told not to is plenty of reasoning. So, am I the jerk here? Now, OP has also left a little note, a personal note, he says, at the end of this. I reread this, and I know it comes off as angry, but I am angry. I'm angry at myself, really, for wasting so many years. But I'm also angry because this was just the ultimate F you. She just went and did it anyway, and didn't even try to hide it. Literally, went to the same place next to the nail salon and used her credit card, which I pay for, like I wasn't going to see the charge. Now, in the comments down below, OP also gave some additional information. Let's get into that before we get into my thoughts. He says that most of you are correct. This isn't about a massage. I could honestly care less about the massage. That was simply what I fixated on after I finally broke. Now, to those that like to ride the assumption train or for some reason just create your own narrative based on who knows what, I did not just massage my wife to get sex. I did this for her 300 times a year, nearly our entire relationship. I did it back when we used to have sex 10 to 15 times a month, back when foreplay was something I still got to experience, back when lingerie was common and not just a distant memory. The full massages just became the only way to get the chance of sex above 0. The small leg ones were never escalated by me and were far more common. Since most people bashing me decided to skim over or ignore the short vague list of all that I tried over the years, here is a more comprehensive account. Date nights, weekend vacations, love letters, long conversations where I laid out all my feelings. I'll give her credit, she never did promise to do better, just told me she understands where I'm coming from. I guess I should have understood that that meant she didn't care. I suggested counselling 5 times. I even booked us once, and I ended up going to the first 2 sessions by myself. When she said she was too busy to go to the 3rd, I just cancelled and never went back. Yes, the day-to-day routine stuff is pretty balanced, as far as housework, career, and I think we're both great parents. But our relationship was one-sided. It took me a long time to see it so boldly and to stop accepting it. If she wants a snack, she doesn't get it. She asked me to. A drink? The same thing. If she wanted to go out with friends, sure babe, no probs, go ahead. I got the girl, just worry about you. But if I do, it's 2 hours of prep for me to make sure nothing's going to go wrong while I'm out. A couple of years ago, I saw a clip of a comedian talking about being out golfing when his wife wanted to watch a DVD, and everyone is laughing as he's describing the whole conversation. I just wanted to bawl my eyes out because that was my life. I just stopped trying to even go out. It wasn't worth the effort anymore. Yeah, we had other forms of intimacy. We cuddled at bedtime to fall asleep. She never really liked kissing or hand-holding, so I wrote those off back when times were good. So I had cuddling and, on the very rare occasion, sex to look forward to. Now, let's flip this over. Besides the near daily rub-downs, also pretty common was for me to brush her hair. She likes that. She'll ask for that. I painted her toenails a few times. Back scratching was pretty common. Oh, and I usually drew her a bath after she worked out. Does that count as intimacy, or is that just more of only doing things to screw her? I guess I'm the jerk. I'm the jerk to myself for putting up with this for so long. And I get it, you're all right. We both do have unprocessed trauma from having our dreams dashed. But I didn't quit. I honestly didn't berate her emotionally because of this. I knew she was having a hard time. Yeah, I let my frustrations or disappointment show sometimes, but I didn't get angry. Not until now. Not until I had that bad day. And she said, "Well, tomorrow will be better. Can you massage me?" And the sick thing is, I felt totally dismissed and still did it anyway. Afterwards, I was so angry, I just decided I'm never going to massage her again. And I've been angry ever since. Even now, typing this has put me in a full rage. Now, I don't really give a dang about the massage. It was just the final FU of our marriage. Okay, and before we get into the update, I've picked out just one more comment down below that I think is very interesting. Someone said, "Question, what was your wife's reaction to you filing for divorce?" I think this is enlightening because it shows us how much this woman really cares, if at all. OP replied, "She's been rather annoyed too. She thinks that I'm being ridiculous and childish," which the massage thing was, I admit, but she has said that my desire for sex is juvenile, that I'm not some teenager, and we have a life that I am throwing away over nothing. Now that was all the initial reaction. Now, she is full go for divorce, but she makes it sound like a competition, so I'm expecting plenty of BS. My lawyer says that outside of a 50-50 split, she doesn't have much to fight for. We make almost the exact same amount in terms of annual salary. 50-50 is the default for custody, and since I found an apartment about 10 minutes bike ride away and still in the same school, that's not going to be an issue. I'm contemplating some concessions just to move the process along, although she hasn't done anything or said anything yet. I'm just getting prepared for if she does. Okay, so there we go. That is it for the original post and some more information, and then a reply to a comment as well. Yeah, I think this is a pretty cut and dry one, to be honest. I don't really think that she's that into you anymore. Or at least if she is, her version of a relationship or what she needs from a partner is now completely different to yours, to the extent that sadly, I just don't think you are compatible anymore. Now, I would put that more on her, because from her point of view, she is getting everything that she wants, it seems, out of you, and you're getting very little that you want out of her. Now, I know what some of you are probably thinking, like no one owes anyone else sex, which is obviously completely true. But I feel like if we just think about this logically, like she is getting 300 massages a year, and OP is getting nothing. I know obviously it's not the same because sex isn't a massage and like they're not comparable, but I kind of feel like if one half of a relationship is giving so much to the other one, exactly what they want, and then that other one is giving nothing back to their partner, then that's not really fair. Now the tough part of this, and I'm not entirely sure where I stand on this, is to what extent is getting a massage like cheating? Because if you are doing it for intimacy reasons or even sexual reasons, but I mean, it does sound like sort of intimacy reasons, right? I don't think it sounds too much like it's like for muscular relaxation or like rehab or kind of a physio sort of massage. It does sound like it's more emotional, more intimate. And I think you could argue that that is cheating. I know it's like it's not necessarily seen as cheating and it's done in a professional sense, but I don't know. I would go as far to say that is, especially given the fact that your husband has said, I explicitly do not want you to do that. So he is not on board with it. I think that is cheating. Now, yes, of course, going to a sex worker and employing their services would probably be a little bit more, I guess, emphatic than getting a massage. But still, you know, if one person wants somebody not to do something with another person and they do it, I think that is cheating. I really do. I mean, within reason, of course, but I think that is grounds enough to say that, I'm not on board with this. To me, it pretty much just seems, before we get into the updates, which we're going to, don't you worry, that this relationship is just doomed. I don't necessarily even think that either party is to blame. I would like your wife to be doing more, don't get me wrong, and I feel like she could be doing more, but you both want different things at this stage. Maybe it's time to just move on. All right, let's get into the first update. This was posted just 5 days after the original on April 29th. While this is not official by any means at this point, I'll take it as a positive. My soon-to-be ex asked me to meet yesterday to hash out some details of the divorce, and it was actually pretty productive. We agreed on a 50-50 custody arrangement. Basically, a week there, a week here. Becomes 2 weeks during summer break. We each keep our own retirements, splitting the savings 60-40 her favour. Each keep our primary vehicle. I made a huge concession on the house. It was my idea. I want our child to grow up in that house. Ours was a 3-bedroom with a finished basement and a nice yard. I don't want her to live in a pair of 2-bedroom apartments. This is important to me. I'll be paying a house alimony each month to offset some costs, since my rent and projected utilities, etc. are much lower than the mortgage, utilities, and upkeep of that house. We did agree though on some stipulations that would end that. 1. If another adult should move in, i.e. a boyfriend or new husband, my obligation ends immediately. 2. My obligation ends when our daughter moves out or turns 22, whichever comes first. And 3. There's a bunch of different scenarios we talked about in terms of splitting the house if she wishes to sell it. I won't bore you all with that, but basically as long as I continue to make the alimony payment, I'll get 40% at time of sale or a buyout. I'm turning all of this over to my lawyer this week. He'll write it up and send it to her lawyer. While she definitely had a "you are beneath me" vibe during our meeting, I'm happy this doesn't look like it will be an ugly divorce, as I was very worried it would be. I assume our daughter is the motivating factor for her sudden amicable attitude. Now, before we get into the second update, which is a little bit more dramatic than what we just had there, I actually want to just pick out this comment, because somebody asked OP if his daughter is actually his, since he and his wife were not able to have any more children. A pretty, scathing comment, or just controversial one, or just deep, really. But the way in which OP responded to it, I think is quite telling once again. He said, "We literally conceived within a few weeks of being married. We were going at it like rabbits back then. Literally newlyweds spending every second together. I don't want to pick on you, but this is the most annoying part of Reddit. I know I acted like a jerk about the massage. I know it's not actually cheating, but there is no actual infidelity anywhere in any post or comment that I've made. I don't understand why you jumped to that. And it's not just you, several others have too, but I truly have no fears that she was ever unfaithful." Now, I will say that I do love Reddit as a platform, don't get me wrong, but I do think that OP is right. Sometimes people do jump to pretty crazy conclusions when they have no real reason to do so. I mean, I guess, if we're talking logistically and logically, this probably does make sense, as in it could happen. If you can't have a second child, then yeah, there's a chance that one of you wasn't involved in the creation of the first. But the doctor said, it can happen. It was just a miracle. And also, I don't think it's very nice to assume that, or even question if somebody was cheating on someone else, when that didn't seem the case at all from what I've just read. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into the second update. This was posted on May the 1st, 2024. Well, that didn't last long, says OP. The lawyer called the first thing this morning. My wife has changed her mind, rejecting all the house stuff we talked about. She says she wants to sell and move into somewhere smaller. She's only rejecting the house agreements. The custody agreement is not being rejected though. I told my lawyer, fine, I'm done. I told him, here's the offer from my side then. 50-50 custody, 50-50 split of house sale. I'll still go 60-40 on savings. I know some of you are saying this is dumb and unfair, but I have my reasons, and they all revolve around our daughter. I'm actually fine with this. I'm not even upset that she wasted 4 hours of our time on Saturday. I'm just ready to be done. After my initial tirade, I've actually really come into a good place. It's like I spent years carrying around a backpack of stones, and I finally decided to put it down. Personal response to OnlyFans models. Stop sending me invites and messages. I can jack off on my own just fine for free. I'm not going to pay you. Leave people the frick alone. Sorry, that's come out of nowhere. Was OP getting DM'd on Reddit by OnlyFans models saying, oh, don't worry about your divorce. You can just pay me a membership and I'll sort you out. What the heck? Now here's one final relevant comment on this post. Someone asking about the split in savings, saying they don't understand why 60-40. If it revolves around your daughter and you're 50-50 on custody, you having the money is the same as your wife having it, unless she has more responsible spending practices or something. OP says, okay, look, I've paid all the bills our whole marriage. I don't mean my money. We both work. I mean, I've been the person in charge of making sure things get paid. I also don't really spend a lot on myself month to month. Sure, I do some, but she is definitely more of a spender. I'd rather give her some more buffer while she learns how to manage finances because, yeah, I think she's going to screw up. Maybe I'm wrong, but this woman hasn't thought about bills or budgets in years. And I don't mean to say she's irresponsible. She's not. She wasn't a crazy spender or anything. Maybe I'm just being irrationally accommodating. Also, I really need to stress that we aren't rich people. This isn't some gigantic amount of money we're debating here. In all honesty, if she feels like she's winning and we divorce faster, I'll consider it money well spent. Okay, and there we go. That is the end of the updates, I guess for now and probably forever. This does seem like a good conclusion to the story, I'm not going to lie. I feel like from the very beginning, it was painfully obvious that these two, maybe they were back in the day, and I'm sure they had a happy marriage at first, but for the last, few years, and especially now, it's just clear that they're not compatible and they're not good together. And if anything, you could see it as a positive that they are now finally deciding to get a divorce. They probably should have done it a while ago. It sounds like to me anyway. Sounds to me as if, what OP's saying about carrying a rucksack full of stones and now finally being able to put it down. You don't want to live like that. And yeah, I guess you could potentially work through something like this. But when there are such clear differences in what both members of a relationship want, I don't think that's ever really going to work out. And for the sake of your kid, and I love the fact that is the person that you're talking about throughout all of this. That is why you're willing to lose a little bit on the divorce just to make sure everything is fine for her. You even want her to stay in your family home and not live in two separate apartments week to week. Yeah, I think maybe you should have done it earlier, but at least you're doing it now, and she won't have to live with two parents who clearly are bordering on resenting each other, let's be completely frank. I have 2 weeks to get away from my husband. This was originally posted on April 27th, 2024. I'm posting this on a throwaway account as my husband and in-laws all follow my main. I am a 29-year-old woman, and I've been married to my husband, who is 30, who I'll call Alex. Alex and I met in college during our freshman year. We started off as just friends and got married 7 months ago. I've gotten along with his family, but we aren't super close, although we are friendly enough. The problem is that Alex has begun to make me incredibly uncomfortable. Firstly, he's begun to ask me who I'm meeting with, where, what we plan on doing, how long, every single time I leave the house without him. At first, I just thought he was being protective and a good partner, just in case something happened. But then he started checking my phone after the visits, vetting and researching each of my friends as well. He's also been pursuing me to link my bank account to his, as he's in charge of the finances when he was perfectly fine with keeping them separate before. We fight about it almost every day. Finally, yesterday, when he was preparing to go on a work trip for 2 weeks in California, he demanded I wear a tracker so that he could keep an eye on me while he's gone. I can't do this anymore. I feel like I'm suffocating. And his family, who I've spoken to about his worrying behavior, just said he's being careful and protective as a good husband should. I need to gather my things together and find a way to be gone before he gets home without tipping him off. He's always threatened that if he ever found me cheating on him, he'd turn in divorce papers the same day. He keeps a filled out copy in his desk. I'm going to submit those the day I leave. But there's so much to do. Begin finding a new place to live, seeing if my job has any transfers available, packing and moving in 2 weeks. His return flight is May the 11th, so I need to move quickly. I'm posting here because I don't have any close family and I can't risk dragging my friends into this as we share the same friends. I just needed a place to vent and ask if anyone has any advice on the easiest and safest way to do this. Well, as you can imagine, the people of Reddit came through after seeing this post and seeing OP in a time of massive distress and need, and they gave her so much advice. Let's get straight into the update that was posted just one day later. So, I've gotten a lot of support and helpful advice, along with questions that I thought I should clarify before I proceed with the update. Some asked why I'd be hiding things from Alex regarding going out and who I'm meeting with. I don't. I've got nothing to hide. However, when he begins to then double check everything I tell him, with the other people there, right down to each person I talked to and what I said, did I send any text messages? Did I order food? How much did I eat? That is when it started to feel like I was slowly being pushed into a corner. It didn't start off that bad, but it gradually grew worse over time. All of the Reddit subs my in-laws' families are part of are related to gardening and DIY, so I highly doubt they'll see this. If so, by the time they do, I'll hopefully be gone. I talked to my job and I explained things to my manager, and they promised to look into openings in other states to see if they could get me into one. They'll have an update on that in 3 days. I trust that my bank account is secured, considering he's tried to get into it before and failed. I found one camera in the kitchen, another in the living room, and one in our bedroom. As such, I've left them in place for now, and I've done all my planning in the bathroom, pretending I'm taking a bath. I'm honestly staying away from the domestic violence services, as my sister-in-law is unfortunately higher up in those, considering she volunteers there, and I have a feeling that if I did show up there, they would know in a heartbeat. I can't look for apartments until I get the update from work, but either or, I'm still going to be leaving the state. The day before I do, I'll be changing my number carrier and wiping my laptop and all of his electronics before so. I've met with 2 lawyers so far and had them look over the paperwork my husband had prepared, and both said that it did have some clauses in it that could have caused me some trouble down the line. What alarmed all of us was the fact that several of those clauses dealt with future children, not hypothetically. Like several here suggested, I have a feeling he fully intended on getting me pregnant to keep me trapped and tied to him. There are 3 other locations that my job could send me to, and I have, as a precaution, begun looking into all 3 cities and housing in those areas, just in case one of those is the one that they send me to. Even if they don't have an opening that they can push me into, then I'll just have to quit, move, and figure things out on my own. I have enough money to live and survive for a few months until I can pick up another job. Unfortunately, all of our friends are mutuals and would likely be unaware of the consequences of saying or sharing anything I do or say with my husband. I don't have any surviving close family, and obviously my in-laws are not a good resource to rely on. I'm on my own, unfortunately, other than the wonderful bonds that I've begun to make here. I'll update again if I get more information or something else happens. Otherwise, I'll update when my work gets back to me. I do plan on leaving before he returns though, just to make sure that I'm not anywhere near here at that time. Okay, so that is it for the second update, and I've got to say, so far, apart from the obvious stuff, the one thing that is sticking out to me is the fact that OP is saying that she's having to stay away from domestic violence services because her sister-in-law volunteers there. Now, as of yet, we haven't been introduced to OP's sister-in-law, but that just seems so horrifically backwards that she is worried and scared of going to somebody that volunteers for domestic violence services because she is related to the person that is enacting those things. I mean, that is just crazy. Who knows in reality what would happen if your sister-in-law did find out? I mean, you'd like to think that someone in that position would put their familial relations to the side and say, this is my job, this is what I volunteer for, to help people like you out. It doesn't matter if that's my brother. But based on what you're saying, maybe it would. Crazy stuff. Anyway, let's get into the second update now, posted on April the 30th, 2024, just a few days later. Good news! My work has an opening I qualify for that will not only shift me across the country, but also comes with a salary increase as well. I've started telling my in-laws and friends that I'm planning a surprise outing for when my husband gets back, for just the 2 of us. This way, people don't give me odd looks if they see me out and about. I've even gone as far as asking my mother-in-law to show me his favorite recipes. Sorry guys, everything about that paragraph is just mental. OP has just said, this way people don't give me odd looks if they see me out and about. That is like insane. So I guess at this point of OP's life, she is worried about even going outside in case her husband's family see her. what the heck? Anyway, she continues. Meanwhile, I found a moving company that, while small, is willing to work in a storm. The reason is, in 5 days, we're supposed to get hit with a large storm front. I plan to shut off the breaker and say we lost power if he asks, just as several people here suggested, and even send him a short clip of the storm. I'll have all of my stuff moved that afternoon, and I'll be flying out once the weather has cleared enough to do so. I have a lawyer who will push my divorce through, and I filled out the necessary paperwork so that I don't have to be here for it. I'm not suing for assets or alimony, and I've shredded his divorce papers as well. I've set up a cheap payphone plan through Cricket until this is all said and done, at which point I'll find a new carrier, number and phone. This one is being wiped and left behind. My laptop is provided by my work, and the IT department inspected it thoroughly and it was clean, thankfully. No other electronic aside from my laptop and new phone will be coming with me. If Alex needs to talk to me, he can do it through my lawyer. I'm not sure if anything else will happen. My fingers are crossed that he doesn't think anything's amiss until after I leave, and I'm not turning the breaker back on when I do. He can when he gets home. My work is covering the plane ticket, so that at least is one expense I don't have to finagle in. Okay, let's get straight into the third update. This posted on May the 7th, 2024. It's been a busy week, but I've gotten so much done. Firstly, I'm now out of the house and I'm currently in a hotel while I look for an apartment. It's a big city, bustling with people no matter where you look. We had a pretty bad storm system hit back home that actually lasted 2 days. High winds, thunder, lightning, and even hail everywhere. I didn't take much from the house, my documents, clothes, and important sentimental items. I left all of the furniture and electronics behind. I cleaned the house top to bottom, and I took pictures on my phone so that he couldn't claim I damaged anything when I left. My lawyer has already started divorce proceedings, and my husband will be served on the 8th. His plane is due to land early morning, and the sheriff will be there at the house waiting for him. He is very much about public appearances and reputation. My lawyer will be calling him as well to inform him that I am more than willing to air out everything to the public about his actions if it means securing my freedom from him. I'll go to court as long as I must to get this pushed through. I haven't told our friends or in-laws yet. I will do that while he is on the flight to prevent him from getting wind of it before he's handed the divorce papers. I'll be calling around and explaining why we're getting divorced to try and prevent him from twisting this into somehow being my fault. I don't want him trying to claim that I had an affair or something, so I want to get the truth out before he can twist this. As for me, well, I'm doing okay. I'm tired, but yet I feel almost jittery and off kilter. I keep looking over my shoulder and monitoring what I say, even when I don't really need to anymore. Hopefully that will fade soon. Yeah, it's sentences like this which I think really do show the level of emotional abuse, manipulation and control that has been going on here, even if it wasn't objectively obvious. And I think, to be fair, OP has actually hidden quite a lot of what's happened, really. I mean, I'm getting that sort of sense. Yeah, sentences like that, drum it in and really push the point that this has been going on for a while and has had huge effects on OP. She continues, my work is covering the cost of the hotel and I'm working on getting my other things in order. I also need to find a new GP as I want to get a full test just to make sure that everything is okay. I don't know when my next update will be, probably when the divorce papers are filed or if we have to go to court to push them through. I will try to keep my head up, but it feels like I'm in a whirlwind or something with so many things to do and think about. I kind of thought it would be easier once I got out of the house, but while the fear is smaller, somehow the number of tasks only seem to have grown. Okay, and then let's get into the final update of this one. This is the 4th update posted just yesterday at the time of recording, May the 14th. That is 1 week after the 3rd update. Sorry I haven't updated for a while. Things got hectic and a bit chaotic, honestly. First, I'm working on getting an apartment still and have applications in at 3 different places, and I'll hopefully hear back from them soon. I'm still going into work here at the new location, so I don't have to worry about burning through my emergency savings completely. I've gotten a lot of emails from Alex, his family, and our old friend group asking question after question. I've only sent one return to Alex, explaining that I don't believe we are truly compatible and it's best that we separate now. His treatment of me when I'd done nothing to deserve as such was just as much of a deal breaker as cheating was for him. I ended the email with the statement that I would not be contacting him further, and anything else he needed to pass on to me or vice versa would be done through my lawyer. For his family and friends, I just typed up one email outlining everything that had happened and why I left. I told them I wished them no ill will, but that such treatment of his wife and partner was not acceptable. that should Alex get remarried in the future, I wish they would help support both partners and not just Alex. Alex, from what my lawyer told me, was livid when he was served. The sheriff actually ended up booking him for assault on an officer and menacing due to the threats he was shouting. His father bailed him out in a few hours, but with the testimony of the sheriff, my lawyer believes I have a very good chance at getting a restraining order. Alex, upon returning to the house, apparently lost his temper again, breaking the dining table into pieces as well as the TV and putting several holes in the walls. At least that's what one of the emails from one of our friends reported, as Alex called him to help him clean up the mess. My lawyer already has pictures of the house that I took, with timestamps as evidence that nothing had been damaged by me. My friend reported that Alex tried to claim that I'd been the one to trash the house, but the holes in the wall were at head height. Alex is 6'3" and I'm 5'4", so he knew that was false. Either way, taking the pictures definitely will help me, so again, thank you everyone here for the advice, as I'd never would have thought of that on my own. My work won't share details of where I am, as I do work with some higher end clientele who value security, and that information won't be gossiped about, and no, I'm not some stripper or escort. I deal with contracts, notary, and business management. As such, even if Alex tried to use my work to find me, he wouldn't succeed. Okay, and that is the end of that one. I've got to say, at the very least, the end of that was positive, and it sounds as if OP is going to be able to move on with her life away from the horrors that have been that relationship. But, I mean, it doesn't take away from the fact that escaping from your abuser must be like a real-life horror story. Just insane. Absolutely, I cannot put into words how terrifying that period of time must have been. As I mentioned, those few kind of sentences that the OP included that I guess made us see what was really going on and the torment that she'd been under for all those years, I think show the reality of the situation. If anything, it actually felt like reading that OP was still like withholding information and still checking her shoulder even while writing the post, and not saying anything that was too drastic or, you know, the truth really, in case Alex or his family found the post. I mean, maybe I'm wrong there, but that was the feeling I was getting, that we weren't getting the real truth, and only in those little sentences did we really see the effect of what was going on and how much it had affected OP. But yeah, that is it for that one. Crazy story. Guys, leave your comments down below on that. What do you think? What do you think that the OP should do going forward? Do you think she's done the exact right thing? Do you think the advice that she took from Reddit was perfect? To be honest, I think it is. I think she's done really well to get to this point based on everything that's happened. But yeah, there we go. That is it for the story. Hope you enjoyed it. My mum confessed that she is my sister, and I now feel bad. I don't know why I feel so much guilt about this whole situation. This happened 5 days ago, 1 week after my 16th birthday. So, my mum, who is really my half-sister, explained our entire family situation to me. Her mum, my bio mum, was assaulted as a teenager at 15 years old, and she was forced to keep the child because of her parents, eventually giving birth to my mum. They struggled a lot during this time, and my mum was resented by her mum, so she moved away as soon as she was 18 and went no contact. Her mum then began spiraling with drugs, alcohol, etc. once she left, and eventually ended up pregnant again with me around the time my mum was 23. However, she was deemed unfit to raise me, so they managed to contact my mum and she agreed to take me in. My bio mum never really recovered and ended up overdosing a year later. This completely surprised me because I genuinely never had a clue I wasn't actually my mum's child. We look very much alike, and she went to great lengths to become my mum. She said that I don't need to call her mum anymore and that I deserve to know the truth before I turn 18. This upset me and I absolutely disagreed with her, and I said that no matter what, she'd always be my mum and I would always call her that because she is in every way my mum. And we both cried over this and hugged, and I thanked her for telling me the truth as well. The thing that is eating away at me though is that she sacrificed so much to raise me, and I can't repay her in any way. Like, she hasn't dated at all, even though I know that she wants a partner. She also changed professions to better accommodate me. She's done so much, and I can't repay her in any way. And I haven't always been the best to her either. I was definitely difficult as a child, and recently I haven't really been listening and respecting her as much as I should be, and I know I probably said some mean things over the years, mostly around wanting to be with my dad. She initially said that she had a husband that abandoned us when I was born. All of this just made me feel so much guilt and sadness. And I know if I talk to her about it, she'll just reassure me that she is happy and I shouldn't worry, but I can't get rid of this feeling. I've decided that I'm going to be the best son ever and do everything she says from now on, but I still can't get rid of this feeling. I don't know what to do. So there we go, pretty amazing story to start with. Let's jump straight into some comments. Someone said, "Your sister is an amazing woman and an incredible person and deserves all the love and respect in the world. As for you, handling this so well takes a lot in a person. Be proud of yourself and always believe in yourself." I completely agree with this comment. It's clear that the two people involved in this story, OP and OP's mum, well, half-sister, but let's be honest, mum, are just incredible people. And I feel like for OP's mum, OP's half-sister, the proof's in the pudding, right? All the years of sacrifice and just being the best person she possibly can for her brother, son, are shown in the fact that OP is clearly an amazing individual now and has been raised so well against all odds. OP replies, "Thanks, I'll try my best. My love for her is probably at an all-time high. I wish I'd known earlier so that I could have always treated her this way." Yeah, it makes sense, but you weren't to know. And obviously, you're a teenage boy, you're going to get angry at things. I've said some of the worst possible stuff I can think of to my parents over the years. Did I mean any of it long term? No. Do I love them loads? Yes, it's just part of growing up. And also, don't worry, your mum will 100% understand that. Someone else commented, "Talk to your mum, thank her, and tell her you are grateful for how she raised you. And now she should think about herself too. Encourage her to date again and find a partner." "Okay, I will," replied OP. "I think I'll take some time to figure out the right words to say to her." Yeah, I agree with that comment, because now that you are 16, OP, it feels like you probably need less care. She's right to tell you at this age, by the way. I mean, it sounds as if she's done an amazing job throughout your entire life, to be quite frank. It's pretty ridiculous how selfless she's been. But yeah, I agree. Now is the time for her to probably start thinking a little bit more about herself and exactly what she wants personally. But you also have to remember that this has probably been one of her life's missions, to make sure that you grow up to be an unbelievable kid. And it sounds as if she's done an amazing job. And she can take a lot of comfort from that and be so proud of herself. So although it's selfless from her to be doing all this amazing stuff for you, she's doing it because she wants you to be amazing, and she's succeeded at that. So yeah, you know what I mean. I think someone sums up what I'm trying to say here by saying, repay her by being the best person you can be. Help her, be respectful, study, and always be grateful. And OP replies, "Absolutely, will be the best son I can." Perhaps this is all best summed up by this Redditor, who says, "You have to also give yourself a little grace here. Your mum sounds amazing and deserves all the best, but what she clearly wanted for you was to give you a normal, stable childhood. And it's very normal for children to act out sometimes, to say things in anger, to be difficult. It's all a part of growing up. The good thing is that it's easy to see from your reaction to what she told you that she did an amazing job, and you're well on your way to becoming a great person that she will be proud of. Take all of this and let it strengthen those good qualities. Do your best for her and yourself, but don't beat yourself up for past mistakes you can't change. You don't need to repay her for the choices she made. You just need to live a life that makes you both happy." OP says, "Thanks for the advice. I'll definitely try my best to feel proud of myself and also make her happy." All right, let's get into the mini update of this one, posted just a day later. OP says, "I've literally been tearing up from all the comments and messages from everyone. I'm honestly so grateful for all the kind words and reassurance. Genuinely, thanks so much." This isn't much of an update really, but I thought I would still share. I took a few pieces of advice and have done them randomly during the day. Firstly, happy Mother's Day everyone. This was posted on May the 12th. Hope you had a great time. Me and my mum had a few things planned for today, and I got back just over an hour ago now. We went to the cinema, then a restaurant, and ended the day with bowling. Honestly had an absolute blast, and she was happy throughout. I got her a gift too. It was a photo engraved bracelet which I gave her at the end of bowling. One piece of advice I got was saying things that show her I care about her. So I said, "You're the best," and I hugged her after the cinema. I also said I love you when giving her the bracelet, which made her cry. I still do feel guilt, but I'm not going to let it get me down. I don't want more stress, especially with exams coming up. I saw a lot of comments mentioning that I shouldn't keep my feelings bottled up, so I am planning on conveying all of them to her soon. I'll probably write a letter because I know I'll start crying before I even start speaking. I think that would definitely give me some peace of mind. Thanks all again for taking the time to read this. So there we go. What a heartfelt way to start this episode. I will say that the next story that we're going to get into is less heartfelt than that. But, you know, I've got to bring you guys back down to earth, don't I, really? We can't have all lovely stuff like that with unbelievable endings and people that love each other. That would be boring. But I will say, reading a story like that, it does make you feel good. I can't really add too much more to what I've already said and what the people in the comments have said, to be honest. Just two great people. You can tell that your mum, OP, has done an amazing job at raising you. You seem like a very grateful kid. Yeah. I would say just remember this moment. There will be challenging times ahead, and I don't think that you have to, you know, get on with your mum for the rest of life. You know, you can still have disagreements, differences of opinion, etc. I hope, to be honest, that there are things that you do or that she does that the other one doesn't like, because otherwise it would be, you know, a bit too much of a sort of safe relationship. You gotta have a normal working relationship with each other, right? As you'd hope from most parents and children. As that last user said, to be fair, you've had a normal life. That is exactly what she wanted, and that includes getting angry and having disagreements, etc., especially when growing up. But yeah, just remember this moment right here. Remember how grateful you feel. Even, to be fair, perhaps the guilt that you feel from her sacrificing herself for you. And when you have those challenging moments in the future, just remember how amazing she is as a person and the job that she's done in raising you. So yeah, don't let things get out of hand is all I'd say. Just remember it and remain grateful. Anyway, let's continue. Am I the jerk for initiating a divorce while my wife is in the hospital after a car accident? My wife had 2 kids before we got married, and they have an actively involved father. We have had 2 children of our own. My wife is a terrible driver, but she refuses to acknowledge this. She's been in multiple accidents and even had her license suspended. Not for a DUI or anything, just because she's a trashy driver. She'll do stuff like reach into the back seat to deal with a kid, rather than either pull over or let me or one of the older kids deal with it. She got T-boned in August last year because she took her foot off the brake at a red light to pick up my son's soother that had fallen out. She didn't put the car in park. Thankfully, only she was injured. All 4 kids were in the car. I have had it. I told her that she is welcome to endanger herself and her kids, but that if I am in the car or if our children are in the car, she will keep her eyes on the road and her hands on the steering wheel. She is finally at the point in her rehab where she can drive again. I reminded her of what I said. I told her that I loved her. I said that her older kids were important to me and that I loved them too, but I told her that if she ever decided to do stupid stuff while driving, our relationship would be over, and I would make it part of our divorce that she not be allowed to drive with my kids in the car. She started crying and said she didn't do it on purpose. I asked her how exactly she took her hands off the wheel, took off her seatbelt, took her foot off the brake, and turned around to pick up the soother by accident. She said that I'm treating her like an idiot. I don't think I am. My children have to be safe. Before you ask, I try and do as much of the driving as I possibly can. I've stopped drinking when we go out. I traded in my car that I loved for an SUV, so there's room for us all. I offered to pay for Uber so she didn't have to drive if I wasn't available. She actually likes driving. Her ex and her parents are on my side. He also told her that if she ever thinks about endangering his kids, he would either go for full custody or ask that she be barred from driving with his kids in the car. Her parents have threatened to stop helping her pay her stupid high insurance premiums. She thinks we are being unfair because she loves her kids and would never intentionally harm them. She just loses concentration when one of the kids needs something and doesn't think to ask for help. Alright, let's get straight into the comments with this one, because I've got to say, although the title sounded pretty bad, it makes complete sense when you read what OP has said. However, a commenter has said this, which I think is a fair point. The part that I'm hung up on is when you said, you don't care how she drives with her kids or if she's alone. If you care about her, you should. This part is alienating. The topic itself, you're not the jerk. However, the way you're approaching it, it sounds like you actually are. OP has replied, you have no idea how many times I have begged her to drive safely, but I agree that I should have been nicer. To be honest, yeah, maybe, but I do kind of feel like OP is at the end of his tether here, and has just said to her, after trying for I don't know how long to make her listen, you do what you want with your kids and yourself. I don't care anymore, but my kids, it's just not happening anymore. I kind of feel like that is the point that OP's got to. Someone else, though, has said that OP is the jerk. She's already shown you she's a horrible driver. Why do you keep giving her chances? Tell her she doesn't drive with any kids anymore. Her whole excuse of I didn't do it on purpose, she can say that at the eulogy of your dead kid. Why are you guys giving her more chances? She can kill herself if she wants, but all kids shouldn't be in a car when she is behind the wheel. If any kids need a driver and you or her ex are busy, then it's an Uber. No excuse, no more chances. That is a great point. And actually, I would agree with this commenter that actually by enabling her to continue to drive, I mean, who knows? It might slightly be out of your hands. But to be fair, I think there is more that OP and OP's wife's ex could be doing. Then yeah, I would say that you're not going far enough and therefore you are endangering your children's lives by not stepping in. OP has said though that is where we are at now. Our older kids have told her straight up that they will get out of the car or call the cops if she can't be safe. OP then adds a little bit more context as well after yet another commenter said, "You're not the jerk for what happened, but you are for the way you dealt with it." And he says, time number 5. I contacted her ex-husband to deal with her regarding their kids from the hospital on the day of the accident. I made sure his kids as well as mine were okay, and I told him that I was basically forbidding her from driving my kids around, but obviously I could not do that for his. He was at the hospital within half an hour and he agreed with me. Alright, let's get straight into the update. This was posted a couple of months after the original. OP says, I've spoken to her about her driving habits now, and I warned her. I went to see her in the hospital, and then I went to a lawyer. I'm also going for full custody with only supervised visitation for her. I am sick to death of her driving habits, and I will not wait for her to injure or kill one of our kids with her BS. I feel bad for doing this while she's in hospital and facing charges, but I cannot take any more chances with her. And to be fair, OP, I agree. We do get a little bit more context in the comments though. Someone asked, can you tell us more about her driving habits? Her age, her health, is she driving drunk? Is it something that can be worked on, or is she willing to change? 100,000% the kid's safety comes first, period. But are you ready to end a marriage without exhausting all possible options? Or maybe you have and those details aren't in your post. Forgive all my questions, just truly curious as to more details on the situation. Regardless, I would document all the instances and dates of her reckless driving to have that info ready and keep the kids from riding with her at all costs. Do other people in her life see this issue? Have other people tried to talk to her about it? Okay, that's all my questions for now. OP says she's been in several serious accidents from getting distracted while driving. She was still doing rehab from her last accident when this one happened. See, what I don't understand about this situation is, if you are an individual that is involved in so many serious accidents that can have serious ramifications, not just for the individual, but for other road users, surely at some point pretty quickly your license would be removed from you, or you'd at least be banned for a period of time. I'm shocked as to how that hasn't happened yet. Like, I feel like when you're endangering people to this extent, this doesn't come down, or this shouldn't come down to a decision of, oh, should I drive anymore? Is it safe? My partner doesn't want me to, etc. Your license should just be removed from you by the DVLA or whatever it's called in America, the government, whatever. Oh, you know what? I totally missed, actually, during this update, the first sentence in which OP says, my wife was involved in a single vehicle accident. She was seriously injured, but thank goodness no one else was in the car with her. Okay, so that is why we have this update. I do apologize, guys. I totally missed that. So it's another separate accident, only a month and a half on from the first one, in which obviously OP's kids were in the car. This time she was on her own, but I see, this is why the update has been made. Oh my goodness me. Okay, I understand now. Someone replied, I definitely understand that. Has she said anything about the new accident? Realized that she got a problem? If I remember right from before, she was very upset about you stating that she should not drive with the kids in the car anymore. OP says that this time she left some paperwork in the back seat, so she parked, then she went to grab it. Unfortunately, she left the car in gear, stepped on the gas, and drove into a canal by the mall. I'm just done. See, once again, I've got to say that I do completely agree with OP, but surely she should not legally be allowed to have a license anymore. Or how is she still getting insurance on her car? How much is she paying? after all these accidents. I just don't understand how this is possible. Hang on a second. Let me jump on Facecam. Like, at this point, isn't it just abundantly clear that this woman needs to have her license revoked immediately, or else somebody is going to die? I don't know how someone hasn't died yet. It's just unbelievable. The most likely suspect, of course, is this person herself, but then her kids, and then any other road user. Like, this has to happen before somebody dies. Like, forget about divorce for a second. Get her license removed, or somebody literally is about to die. So, yeah, if any government officials are watching this, or anyone involved in the driving authorities system that exists in whichever country this is, now, obviously, there's a lot of specifics there that I haven't mentioned because I don't know them. So good luck finding out this person, who she is, the car she drives, etc. However, I will say to you, if you are watching and you know what's going on, which you obviously don't because it's impossible to know, but go with me, get this woman off the road. Simple as that. I mean, that just has to be the only conclusion to the story. I don't even care about divorce anymore. Just stop her driving at once. My girlfriend came out as a lesbian before our marriage, and no one gives an F about me. You know what? F you all. This was originally posted on March the 13th, 2024. Me and my ex, Dana, have been together for 7 years, and I knew that she was bisexual from the beginning, and she openly told me about her past relationships with girls. But I never cared, because it wasn't a problem at all. We never had any big fight or arguments, but just small things, and we always sorted out everything. So, after 7 years of our relationship, I decided it was the right moment to ask the big question, because we were deeply in love, financially stable, and already living together. So for me, it was the right time. I prepared everything to make it as romantic and unique as I could. And when I asked her the question, she hesitated, but then said yes. That's when the problem started. I didn't understand why there was that hesitation, and I asked her, but she only replied, I was nervous. So I gave up. We told the news to her parents. Mine died when I was 20, and my little sister when she was 17 in a car accident. Oh my. And our friends as well. But even here, some things were off, because her parents were faking to be happy, and I didn't understand, while our friends were super happy and were already telling us ideas for our wedding. 4 months passed by, and we were planning our wedding when the day came up. I came back home from work, and she was waiting for me with her bags ready, and I asked her what was going on. She told me, listen, I know that this is going to be hard for you, but I'm not bi. I'm lesbian. My parents have known this for 2 years, and that is why they weren't happy and were faking it. Please, I beg you to not make this difficult and just let me leave. Don't cry, don't beg me, don't scream. Let's just do things like adults. And then she drove away. I was standing there on my feet for like an hour in shock because I couldn't believe it. We passed by getting married to Dana coming out like a heartless and cold girl that I couldn't recognize. Now, the worst thing about all of this came next. As 3 months passed by that day, I cancelled the wedding. And literally, nobody ever texted me or called me asking me how I was, if I was fine, if I needed something, just nothing. Not her parents, not her. She blocked me that very day, and not even our friends. No one gives a dang about me at all. In this 3 months, I was hospitalized 3 times because I lost a lot of weight, 15 kilograms, and I have insomnia. I just work and come home, nothing else. While everyone else is praising her for her coming out, how good she is to finally realize she was lesbian, and her courage to be herself after years of fighting to find her true identity. Right now, I'm not even capable of being mad. I'm just in disbelief as to what's happened, how fast it all happened, and that no one gives an F about me because her coming out is more important than her ex. You know what? Screw them all. They showed me their true colors, and screw my ex as well. Okay, so there we go for the first post. Let's get straight into some top comments on that before I give my thoughts. Somebody said, she did not solve her problem like an adult. She avoided it and then ran away like a little kid. Deplorable. Someone else said, you did nothing wrong, and that was incredibly selfish, cruel, and awful of her. As soon as she realized she was a lesbian, she should have broken it off. She wasted a minimum of 2 years of your life that she knew for sure she was a lesbian, and she strung you along. Nothing makes that okay to do. Now, it will get better. Give yourself the time you need to grieve and heal. Be kind to yourself. Treat yourself. Don't rush the healing. You'll be okay. And finally, someone else said, I'm so sorry that you were deceived and that nobody gave you any sympathy. For your own mental health, you need to put all of these people behind you. They are not going to give you what you need. It will be hard, but you need to start rebuilding a new life for yourself. You can do it. Okay, so there we go. That is it for the original post. And yeah, I agree with all those comments. A lot of the time, you do see people in these relationships who discover their true sexuality, come out, and they get a lot of praise, and rightfully so, by the way. On the majority of occasions, I would say that is completely fine. However, in this instance, it's not, because it's not fair. It's not fair on your ex, on OP. Like, look, don't get me wrong, I'm sure that coming out is one of the hardest things you can possibly do. But in this situation, you are screwing over the person that you're in a relationship with, and that ultimately is selfish, despite how hard it is to come out. If you've known this for 2 years and you haven't told your partner, I'm sorry, but that is selfish. I mean, in England, not too long ago, we saw the same with a famous TV presenter, Philip Schofield, now in a lot of controversy, but before that, he was getting a lot of praise for finally coming out. Although, not a lot was made of how that would affect his wife and their family. Like, what is she going to do now? I mean, she's just been conned for a long time. He said he always knew he was gay. It's just weird. I don't know if in that situation, the person coming out should be the one getting all the praise. Definitely not, realistically. Anyway, there is of course more to this story. Let's get into the first update posted just a couple of days after the original. So here we go again, like in GTA San Andreas. But this time, it's more painful and shocking at the same time, because today and yesterday night, a lot happened. Like some of you guys said, some of my ex-friends saw my post on TikTok, and the absolute mess started, and it's still going on right now. This ex-friend, I'll call him Paul, reached out to me and basically told me that he saw the post and knew that it was me, because I used my ex's real name, Dana, and was shocked to know what really happened. Because apparently, Dana told my ex-friends that she came out to me as a lesbian, and I tried to lay hands on her, and I threatened her, and she told them to not contact me again. They all believed her, but then when they all saw my post, they started pressuring her to ask if my post was saying the truth or not, and she admitted the lie. Since Paul's text, I've received a ton of texts and calls from everyone asking me how I am, if I'm fine. They're sorry for believing Dana and not texting me first, and apologies. But then there's the real issue. Dana. She texted me asking to forgive her, that she was sorry for how bad she treated me, and admitting that she invented this all because she was afraid to lose friends. And unfortunately, that's not all, because I got a text from her girlfriend, Mary, and basically she told me that she is sorry for Dana's behaviour and for what she did, and, now here comes the issue, that she's known Dana for a year, and she never told her about me, but always talked to her about me like a roommate. So she was thinking of leaving Dana. Now comes my part, because I made a new group, including them all, even Dana and Mary, and I told them that I'm not changing my mind about forgiving them. I was actually thinking to sue Dana. This is actually partially true, because I'm not sure if I'm doing that or not. And if they, my ex-friends, were decent humans, they would have texted me asking me if I was out of my mind to lay hands on Dana, or just insulted me via text if they really cared about me. Then I added some personal things about Dana and blocked them all. Yes, I agree with that. Even if Dana had said, don't message him ever again, surely you still would, right? Surely. My blocking method isn't working, because they're continuing to harass me with texts and calls from other numbers, and even making other people call and text me. Crazy stuff is happening, and I really still can't believe at all that this mess is going on. I'm thinking it's all a nightmare and I need to wake up, but unfortunately, it's all freaking true. Then the other thing is that finally I saw a therapist today, a few hours ago. And I don't like to admit it, but I cried a lot. Because for her, the therapist, I never worked on my parents' and my sister's death, and then this thing with my ex added to it, making me explode. It's going to be a very long journey, and I hope to reach a point. I already had the number of the therapist there on my table in the kitchen, but I never called. This time I did. Hopefully it's going to help. So this is all. I hope to update you, not so quickly, but when I feel better. Again, thank you, and hopefully I will update you in better times. All right, someone commented underneath this. Normal people break up with their partner and tell everyone about it and why, then move on. But Dana ghosts her boyfriend and lies just because she was scared. Honestly, I would definitely sue for defamation, man. You have the evidence, and I don't think it could go wrong. What do her parents think? OP replies, I forgot to write this little part, but the quick resume is that I never had a good relationship with them, so we never got along well. They always said that I wasn't the right guy for their daughter, so I never really cared about them. But this time, they asked me to think wisely and to not sue Dana because she was afraid, and they even justified her actions. That's all. And in fact, I wasn't surprised about their reaction to the news of marrying her. Someone else said, "Dang, you were absolutely correct calling the ex-friends out, because yeah, any good friend would have called you out on problematic behavior, or at least been like, dude, what were you thinking exactly? Also, there's no shame in crying. Good luck on your healing journey, and those folks can kick rocks." Also, I would create a template response for when folks message you and just copy paste it. It's funny how they had no problem ghosting you, but now can't accept you telling them to F off. And then finally someone said, "OP, just change your phone number so your ex and toxic friends won't call you again. Focus on your healing, and I pray you find the happiness and love you deserve." Alright, now let's get straight into the third update. This was posted on April the 15th, so about a month after the first update. A month has passed since my first post, and here I am again. I know that I promised to be here again when things would be better, and I hope for that very much. But unfortunately, my life isn't better at all, and things are going worse than I expected. I'm going to talk in the same way how I talk with my therapist, because you guys are a little bit like my therapist. Now, you know I'm not an expert of therapy and these things, and I hope that in a short time things would change and I'd feel better, but it's more difficult and longer than I expected and imagined. I'm crying every day about everything that's happened to me, about my parents and my little sister's premature death, what happened with Dana and how my friends betrayed me so easily like I was just a random guy. The worst thing is about Dana. After my parents' death, I put all my attention and importance on her. She was like my promise to have a new family and start a new life together and be again a family. In all these years, I tried my best to make her feel loved, happy and cared for. What maybe doesn't transpire from my older posts is how much I loved her and how much I cared about her, because Dana was the only person in this world that knew me 100%, and she was for real my soft spot. After my retirement from the army, she was the one that saw the real me after those years of risking my life. I still have some trauma, but I'm working even on that from that time. And then when I saw Dana, I knew it was love at first sight. So yeah, call me naive. I still believe in the fairy tales, but I really thought that she was the one for me and that she could finally give me my dream of having a family that I lost. The worst and most difficult thing in this month was to finally change my number and start again. I mean, I thought many times to call her, text her, and even see her again, because despite all this mess, I still somehow care and love her. But then I think again at how poorly and badly she treated me, and I changed my mind. But her presence is still very present there in my mind. I still miss those little things that we did together. I miss her being messy and a little goofy around me and my house. I miss her touch. Coming back from work and just seeing her was like all my stress and bad emotions were gone in a second. But apart from this, a few good things have happened in this month, because I got the promotion that I really crave for, even if I got it in the worst moment of my life. And my boss gave me 3 weeks of forced vacation because he's worried about my mental health and how I work day and night without doing anything else. My therapist told me to take a few weeks of vacation also to clarify my thoughts. I'm also looking for another house near my work because my actual house isn't a positive environment, my therapist's words, and because I need a drastic change. So this is what things are like, and unfortunately I do still have unalive thoughts, but I'm working on them even if, again, it's going to take time. So that's everything. I don't think I'm going to post anything else from now on because I don't have anything else to say, fortunately, about my situation. But thank you all for your support and private messages. So people, thank you all, and hopefully even this period of my life will pass without creating too much damage. P.S. My ex-friends never contacted me again, and Dana didn't either. So I don't know anything about what is going on between them, and sincerely, I don't care. Well, maybe. Now we do actually have one more update to come, which is extremely interesting. But before we get into that, let's get into some comments from other Redditors. Someone said, "Hey bud, I wish you well. I can only sympathize with your situation. However, from what I've seen on Reddit and the updates people give out, we see that people do find the happiness someday. Being low is something that every person has to feel, and I guess it's a way to learn. Count it as a failure if you will. But then maybe as a person looking from an outside perspective, all I can see is new opportunities. If I were in your position, I would be hurt as much as you. But what I learned from my experience in failures over the time of my existence is that you may look back and think, what a fuss I made of my life over this. Hang in there and good luck." Can't say I fully agree with that one because I do think that OP has gone through an unbelievable amount that the majority of us reading and listening to this story right now will probably never understand and be able to empathize with. However, yeah, the general point I can kind of get behind. Someone else said, "I'm sorry this happened to you. I actually had something similar myself. I unfortunately walked in on my ex-husband going at it on my best guy friend. I was crushed. I thought I would die. It took about a year to work past it for me. I did a lot of self-work. I went to school, I got a degree, I dated several people, and eventually found my current husband. We've been married for 12 years, and we have 3 kids now. I too lost nearly all of my friends. It was challenging being alone, but I made it. Both of my parents have been gone for many years, so I did go it alone. I took counselling, and I just kept looking forward to the day I felt better. I know this hurts. I know you miss her, but it will get better with time. Keep working on yourself. Find new hobbies and work on personal improvements. Throw out anything that was hers. She is essentially dead to you until you are healthy enough to confront her. You can message me if you need to vent. You got this." Yeah, guys, before we get into the final update, I do think it's worth reiterating the point that OP has barely even mentioned or really delved deep into what happened with his family. The fact that his parents both died and his younger sister died. That was almost like a passing comment in the first original post. But yeah, imagine having that happen to you, going through all that horrible traumatic experience and obviously still living with that day to day. But then finding someone that you saw light in, you saw hope in, you thought, okay, all this terrible stuff has happened to me, but at least I can see a positive future now with this person and have my own family going forward in the future. And then you're hit with this and the sense of betrayal. And obviously that would bring all your past trauma flooding back as well, because, you know, if you can't trust this person to take you away from everything bad that's happened, then, you know, how can you be positive? How can you have a positive outlook on the rest of your life if that's just been taken away from you? I don't know. It's crazy. So yeah, I think we need to remember all of that when thinking about, you know, advice and tips for OP going forward. But I will say, he's doing remarkably well, the lad. Anyway, let's get into the final update of this one. I bumped into Mary yesterday. Hello people, don't worry, I'm still alive. According to my therapist, I can use this little place to vent about my thoughts, the things that happened to me, and updates about my life. So here I am. I'm not very good with Reddit, so I hope I'm doing things in the right way. Don't worry, my friend, you are. Like I said in the title, yesterday I had a strange meeting with Mary, remember Dana's girlfriend, and it was a better meeting than I thought. So I was at this bar in my city, and I was in line to order when Mary recognized me, and we had a chat. I offered her a cup of coffee and we chatted a bit about our life, how things are going and all that stuff. I must admit that she seems like a sweet and kind girl, and she immediately asked me if I was mad at her for what happened with Dana. But I assured her that she wasn't the problem at all. She didn't know me as Dana's ex-boyfriend, so she wasn't the problem. Mary said that I seemed much better now compared to almost 2 months ago, so she was happy. According to Mary, the day I made the group and blocked them all, she and Dana argued a lot and they broke up. She told me again that she was extremely sorry for what happened and how this mess all went down, and that if she knew it before, she would have never dated Dana because she has some values. We chatted for like 2 hours and got to know each other better. After, we exchanged numbers, and she told me that if I needed to talk, vent, or just rant about something with someone, she would be there for me. I appreciated that a lot, and then I went back to my house. It was honestly a nice meeting, and I wouldn't bet a cent on it, but it's nice to be wrong sometimes. So a part of my life since a few days ago seems to have returned to the norm. I haven't had any unalive thoughts for about 2 weeks, which is a great achievement for me. And actually, my mental health finally is getting better. In 3 days, I'll be in Japan for 3 weeks vacation, and I hope to be good and progress always with my mental health. So let's see. That's all. And I never told anyone by name, by the way, but I'm Clark. Peace and thank you for all your DMs. I'm starting to believe you and appreciate your support. So there we go. Once again, we've seen the power of Reddit. You know what I love is that OP's therapist has fully embraced this as a place where OP can go and vent and get some really valuable feedback and help from other Redditors out there. I mean, I've read quite a few comments out there. It sounds as if OP has got a bunch of DMs, you know, giving him really great advice and helping him through this period. And yeah, it just shows what a valuable place a subreddit like this can be. Now, personally, I would just say to OP, like, you know, if things aren't always going well from this point onwards, it would be completely normal. In fact, if every day was better than the previous day, it would be extremely weird. You're going to have some downtime still going forward, but as long as generally you're on the up, and it does seem like you are, to be fair. We have to remember this is still very, very soon after the incident that's happened. Then, yeah, fair play. You're going in the right direction. That is clear to see. And yeah, it seems to me as if the people of Reddit have had a big helping hand in that. Am I wrong for ending a 20-year marriage because I learned my wife cheated on me while we were dating? This was originally posted on January the 8th, 2024. My wife, who is 44, and I, a 43-year-old man, had been married for 20 years. We started dating in high school when I was a junior and she was a senior. We were long distance for her first 2 years of college while I was in high school and did 1 year at community college. Then we went to college in the same city for a year and have lived together since. We got married the summer after I graduated college. Now, our marriage has been pretty great so far, but I initiated a divorce after I discovered that she was sleeping with multiple other men for the 2 years we were long distance. Just after Christmas, we got together with a few friends of hers from college to catch up, have dinner, and hang out. We talked about a lot of stuff, and my wife mentioned that we met in high school. Not that we dated, just that we met. Her old college roommate commented that it was crazy that we met in high school, had a few wild years in college, then ended up together. I played along and commented that I didn't know if my wife was as crazy as I was. The roommate started to tell a story, but my wife cut her off and said she was uncomfortable about it. I sensed something was up, so I said that we actually started dating in high school and were together for my wife's entire time at college. All of my wife's friends got real quiet and the rest of the dinner was awkward. On the way out, one of her other roommates took me aside and said that I should have an honest conversation, that's in quotes, about what happened at college. So I asked my wife on the way home and she kind of blew me off. I told her it was important that she was honest with me, and again, she said it wasn't important. When we got home, I told her I was going to stay at my brother's house until she was ready to talk about what happened in college. The next day, she came over and admitted to sleeping with several men during her first 2 years at college. She said she didn't consider it a big deal at the time because we were long distance, and she didn't think a high school romance would last. I pressed for more details, and she said it was at least 10 different men, including at least 3 guys she introduced to me as friends when I came to visit on weekends, and one guy that she was still in contact with. I told her that I wanted a divorce and would be starting the paperwork as soon as I could, which I did on January the 2nd. Wow. Her family and most of my family is telling me I shouldn't throw away my marriage over a few mistakes. I've stood by my belief that cheating on me with multiple men for years is unacceptable, no matter when it happened. And the fact that she continued to maintain relationships with these guys right in front of me was an unacceptable amount of disrespect. We have 2 children, but they are 17 and 19, and I believe they will understand why I need to end the marriage. Am I wrong for leaving? I feel like I'm going crazy with the amount of people telling me to overlook years of infidelity and decades of lies. Now that is the end of the original post, but OP has added in a few edits to answer some common questions. First of all, he says, the reason I posted this is that my wife and a few friends have been saying it's common to sleep with other folk when you're in a long distance relationship, and that I'm kind of the odd one out for not sleeping around. Okay, that is crazy. I felt like I was being gaslit, but I wanted an outside perspective. We live in a state with a waiting period to finalize a divorce, so I felt it was a reasonable idea to get some insight before things are finalized. After these comments, I see a handful of folk saying it's normal to sleep around during a long distance relationship, but it seems to be a significant minority. Yeah, obviously. He then says, we saw each other a couple of weekends a month during the 2-year college period. I lived about 3 hours away from her college, so it was long distance, but not like cross country. This was not a situation where we went months without seeing each other. The 3 guys I met while she was in college were meetups that happened during parties. The subject of me being a boyfriend didn't really come up, so I honestly don't know if these guys knew anything. The one guy we're still in contact with married a mutual friend from college. This is not some guy she secretly messages on the side, it's somebody we've talked to regularly for years. I've talked to him a few times since I've learned about my wife. He said he didn't know we were dating at the time and has since blocked her on social media. Wow. Some people have asked how the roommates didn't realize at our wedding that the timelines didn't work out. Now the main reason is that my wife and I had a very small ceremony with just close family in Texas, then went back to the East Coast to have a big party with friends. The typical reception or sharing of details about how we met stuff didn't really happen, so her roommates didn't realize we started dating before college. It sounds like they thought we only dated for the year we were both in the same city, then moved in together. He says he was open to therapy or some kind of attempt to save the marriage, but her insistence that this whole thing is common and I'm the one who's out of line is just too much for me. The only time she showed any remorse or even offered to reconcile is when I started filing paperwork. In the last week, she's gone back to saying she's right and I'm overreacting. This is also while I feel like I'm being gaslit. It seems obvious that this is a major issue, but I've got my wife and others telling me it's normal and I'm overreacting. Also, I'm not getting a paternity test unless my kids want one. I don't have any doubts that they are biologically mine and no test will make them not my kids. I love them more than anything in the world and my wife's infidelity won't change that even if one or both of them is not biologically mine. They've been my kids for 19 years and they'll be my kids until I stop breathing. He also says we were definitely exclusive at the time. First, dating culture was a lot different 20-ish years ago, and exclusive was kind of the default for most people. Second, we had a long and difficult discussion before she left for college about continuing the relationship long distance. She specifically wanted to stay together and even joked about her dad coming after me if I started sleeping around with girls at my school. Finally, at my senior prom, she was not able to attend and was very upset when I proposed going with a platonic female friend of mine. As a result, I ended up skipping my prom and hanging out with her instead. While we never said the word exclusive, I think the above reasons, combined with the general relationship before she left, are enough to assume exclusivity. And finally, based on some comments here, I followed up with the friend that said I should have an honest conversation. She told me that, quote, 10 guys would be on the low end, and that her biggest concern was that there was apparently at least one pregnancy scare that I didn't know about. I honestly don't really think that changes much. It's less about the number for me and more about the fact that she seems incapable of recognizing why this was wrong or why I feel betrayed. Okay, wow, what a roller coaster of a first post. Let's get straight into the update posted on February 5th, 2024. I want to provide some updates here as my original post got a lot of traction. First, let's talk about the things I learned about the situation in college. After talking to my wife in sessions and texting with two of her roommates, it's clear that her roommates knew something was up in college. They said they thought the situation was weird and likely involved cheating. My wife had told them that we both had some wild times in college and worked it out before we got married, so that's why they never really brought it up. The roommate who pulled me aside recently was uncomfortable with the fact that my wife clearly didn't talk it through with me and wanted me to know. As far as being introduced to guys that she slept with, apparently that was not intended. For one of the guys, he ended up dating and then marrying one of our mutual friends from college. This is the guy she was in contact with. In the other situations, she initially blamed me in a counselling session we've been to, but has now agreed it was bad. When I went to visit her, she planned to hang out in the room or just hang out together alone, but I wanted to go to a few parties, as in high school and community college, I didn't really have any to go to. She didn't expect me to meet those guys, but they were at those parties, and she felt she didn't really have a choice. Now, I still think this is kind of trashy, but not as bad as her intentionally parading me in front of them. Most of our discussion in therapy has been talking about why I think it's a big deal and she doesn't. She initially said that none of these guys were in relationships with her and it was mostly one-night stands or friends with benefits. Since she didn't view them as romantic relationships, she didn't see the big deal. Those are her words, not mine. Now that is absolutely ridiculous, by the way. Just because you don't see yourself as being in a romantic relationship with somebody that you're cheating on your boyfriend with doesn't change the fact that you're cheating on your boyfriend. How dumb is she? Anyway, OP continues. My opinion is that we never said that was okay and she actively prevented me from doing the same. Yeah, exactly. After digging into this across 2 sessions and my wife talking to some friends, she now agrees that it was a breach of our trust/relationship. Wow, well done. She finally grew some sense. What an idiot. This is the shared understanding that has helped us talk about the situation more honestly and helped us get from arguing to talking, which is why I'm optimistic about co-parenting. Now, this is why I'm 100% set on divorce. 2 things came up that make me want to leave the marriage. First, about 10 years ago, we went through a really rough patch and had a dead bedroom for about 2 years. She had expressed that our sex life was becoming boring, so I tried to spice things up. Nothing crazy, just roleplay and like Spencer's gift level sex toys. Apparently, she had been hung up on some sexual experiences that happened in college that she's not comfortable talking about, and wanted me to try them. But when I did it, it made her feel awkward and guilty that it made her think of other men while she was with me. The fact that she's saying these experiences were meaningless, but they're still impacting our marriage, tells me they meant more than she wants to say. Second, she admitted that she's been flirting with co-workers on business trips since the pandemic ended. Oh my god. She says she's never slept with anybody, but it got as far as going on a date with one of her male co-workers. That was the absolute deal breaker for me. Absolutely. I mean, that just is cheating, and that is obviously grounds for a divorce. Oh my gosh. We've told our kids that we're getting a divorce. We told them it was due to some bad decisions that we made in college that we're having trouble moving past. My 19-year-old, who was in college, asked me if I cheated on my wife while she was away at college. My wife got a little shaken up, but admitted to the kids that she is the one who did it. We've agreed not to share any additional details with them. I reinforced that both of us will be there for them and that we're in therapy to help make sure we handle this in the best way for the family. I also told the kids that if they wanted to talk to either of us or a therapist about it, I'd fully support it. We've started talking to a mediator about how to proceed with the divorce, and unless things change, we should be able to have an amicable one. We're both financially stable on our own, we've got no major debts, and our kids are older, so custody isn't a major issue. This has been a bad couple of months for me, but I'm doing okay now, and I honestly am grateful that my last post blew up because it both validated some of my feelings, but also motivated me to go to counselling with my wife. Okay, and that is it for the first update. Let's get into some comments. Somebody said, "Sorry, but this is for the best. She's been keeping you in the dark for over 20 years. Quote, she says she's never slept with anybody, but it got as far as going on a date with one of her male co-workers. If you believe this, then I got a bridge on Mars to sell you. Dead bedrooms for young couples usually mean someone is getting somewhere else." Ooh, I didn't think about that. That is a very, very good point. And I agree, actually. If she's going to the extent of admitting that she's going on dates with co-workers, then who knows what else might have happened. She probably doesn't want to go a step further and admit to the full truth, which we can all probably assume happened. Wow, that's crazy. I didn't even think about that, but to be honest, yeah, I'd say I'm 99% confident now that that has happened. OP replied, "I don't really believe it, but I also don't think it's worth it to dig into more. I'm getting an STD panel done to make sure I'm safe, and I really don't need to know anymore, because if it was just a date, we're getting divorced. If it was more, we're still getting a divorce. Pushing the issue won't do anything but make it harder for us to co-parent." I'm also reasonably sure that she was cheating during our dead bedroom situation. We were having sex like once every 2 months, and we usually have sex 2 to 3 times a week. Again, I have enough to know it's time to move on, and me digging more into it will only make the divorce harder. And finally, someone asked, has she even apologized for everything she put you through? Especially the part where she went on a date with some jerk. OP says, before our counselling and at the first appointment, she was not apologetic. That to me, guys, is just so mental. In the second appointment, the focus was for me to explain the effect it had on me. She has expressed remorse and apologised repeatedly since that session. It's too little too late, but she's not some kind of emotionless monster. Are you sure about that? Insert John Cena meme. To do this to you for so long, I'm not sure. She just might be. Okay, and now let's get into the final update. This was posted actually a long time after the first update and original post, just a few days ago at the time of recording, May 21st, 2024. Hey guys, this is likely the final update on this account as things have mostly resolved. My wife and I have completed our divorce and everything is official. We had an uncontested, amicable divorce with minimal disagreements. Our lawyers worked together to create the plan through mediation, and a judge signed off on it a few weeks ago. In the end, the actual divorce process was pretty straightforward. The only complication was that our 17-year-old was adamant about me having custody because their relationship with my ex-wife has really fallen apart as a result of this. Yeah, good. Initially, my wife dug in her heels and was ready to give up on the uncontested marriage, but my son pretty much told her she could choose between letting him have a break for a few months to process and rebuild, or force him to live with her until he turns 18 and then risk never seeing him again. I felt this was a bit harsh, but my wife backed down and we moved forward with me having primary physical custody until my son's birthday later this year. For my part, I've encouraged my son to be open to fixing things, as the actions my ex took before he was born didn't change the 17 years she cared for and loved him. Yeah, that might be true, okay, but he doesn't know the full story and the fact that she was continuing to cheat on you during your relationship, during the time she has been his mum. OP continues, fortunately, as the divorce moved forward, he's been spending more time with my ex, and I'm optimistic they will work through this. Does he need to know the full story? That's what I'm asking myself right now. I kind of feel like he does. It's probably not for the best, but I don't know. He's getting the wool pulled over his eyes if he thinks this just happened when he wasn't alive when you two were in college. It's just not true. Things have been going well for me personally. Both of the kids spend most of their time at my place, and we're still very close, which was my biggest fear in the divorce. I've got a new house that I really love, and I gave in to the midlife crisis urge and traded in my outdated minivan for a Lexus LC 550. I even had a woman at work, not a close co-worker, invite me out for a coffee date. Now, while I was upfront with her that I'm not ready to date just yet, she said she'd be happy to take a rain check and would be happy to go out with me when I'm ready. I'm honestly thrilled, because she's really smart, has a great sense of humour, and our positions at work are far enough apart that we don't really work directly with each other at all. My ex and I are continuing to go through couples counselling together. We've transitioned into having closure on our marriage and making sure we maintain our relationship enough to be effective co-parents. While these sessions have been great to help me process things and keep things as healthy and positive as possible, given the circumstances, it's also reinforced that divorce was the right option. It's clear from some answers in the sessions. My wife immediately started dating once the divorce process started. So whatever love there was, clearly was on the way out already. I'm pretty sure the co-worker she was just friends with dropped her off at our recent session. The fact that it doesn't even really make me mad is a good sign that I was also probably done with the marriage. In the end, it will take a long time for me to heal from the betrayal, but I feel like I'm making good progress, and I can honestly say that the divorce was unquestionably the right decision. I probably cried more in the last 4 months than I have in the last 20 years, but for the last month or so, I felt genuinely good about myself for the first time in a long time. I'm enjoying having my own life. I've been busy getting my 17-year-old ready for college in the fall and looking forward to a coffee date with a smart, funny woman in a month or two. Well, it's good to hear that this story has, I guess, as happy ending as we could possibly have hoped for. If you, OP, are kind of already realizing that you might have been a little bit checked out of the marriage, I mean, clearly she is, but we don't care about her. But if you're realizing that as well, and it's not as painful and not too much of an ordeal as you probably expected it to be, as you say, that is a good sign. And yeah, if the future looks bright, I'm happy for you. And you know, I still am not entirely sure about the kids' relationship with their mum moving forward. You guys let me know in the comments what you think about that and whether they deserve to know the full truth. Maybe it's not really for the best, but I just feel like there's so much there they don't know about, which would massively change their opinion on their mum. I, 26-year-old female, just found out I'm pregnant after having revenge sex with the fiance, 35-year-old male, of the girl, 30-year-old female, who my ex-boyfriend, 32-year-old male, cheated on me with for 2 years. Oh my goodness. This was originally posted on February the 19th, 2023. So I just found out that I'm pregnant after having revenge sex with the fiance of the girl who my ex-boyfriend cheated on me with for 2 years. Just trying to get my head around that as a title. Wow. My ex and I met when I was 20, but were only friends until we started dating 2.5 years ago. I found out last year that my ex had been cheating on me for basically our whole relationship with a girl he met through a mutual friend. I broke things off after I found out, and I told the girl's fiance about their affair. He ended up breaking off their engagement after he found out, and she seemed nonchalant about it, until she realised that my ex's money wasn't actually his. My grandma left me a lot after she passed back in 2019, and my ex had been flaunting around the things that I'd gifted him throughout our relationship to her, even going as far as to claim that the house and antique car my grandpa left for me in his will were my ex's. Now, it's not something I'm proud of now that I think back to it, but I did allow my ex to walk all over me for the first month or two after I broke things off because I missed him so much. I gave him money and tried to make things work, but would always get reprimanded by my parents and friends when I'd run to them crying after he ghosted me for her. I didn't officially give up until the girl's ex-fiance messaged me and told me that she was rubbing it in some of their old friends' faces about how pathetic I was and how desperate I was for my ex, who didn't even give an F about me. I was really upset, and I asked him if he'd be willing to meet up with me because I knew that if I talked to my parents or friends about this, then they'd just lecture me even more. He agreed, and the two of us met up at a random food cart place. We ended up spending most of the day just exploring and talking about how we were doing. He'd also confided in me about his relationship with his ex. They'd known each other for 10 years and they'd liked each other for most of the time they were friends, but he wasn't looking for a relationship then because he was focusing on school. He had decided to give them a chance after she'd driven 12 plus hours overnight to see him because they talked on the phone and he said he was feeling under the weather and was stressed from how vigorous his residency schedule was. She dropped everything to take care of him, helped clean his place, and made him some home-cooked meals after finding out that he was surviving off of vending machine snacks and instant coffee. He told me in detail how he'd never felt so loved and cared for, how after she'd done that for him, he'd decided that she was the one, that if this wasn't love, then love wasn't real. Finding out that she was cheating for the last 2 years made everything click into place. She'd been pushing off getting married, telling all her friends that she was having doubts about him. He'd been trying to convince her into going to couples counselling when I broke the news to him that she was sleeping with my ex. I felt like a monster, hearing their love story and then realising that they didn't get their happy ending because of my ex, and it messed with my head. We continued to talk from time to time, checking in on each other and meeting up for a quick bite every now and then. We lost contact after the girl my ex cheated on me with somehow convinced him to take her back. I became slightly depressed after he cut me off, explaining to me that he was still in love with her and wanted to work things out, which meant a clean slate. I found out through some internet snooping that my ex cheated on her too, which was why she went back to her ex-fiancé. A few months passed and things went back to semi-normal. I started getting therapy and I was about ready to put myself back out there to try out the dating pool again, when around New Year's, I got a call from the guy. He was crying and asking if I was available to talk. I of course said yes, and out of concern met up with him at his place. He broke down to me and told me about how he'd found her and my ex in his mum's guest bedroom during Christmas when she snuck him in for a quickie during his family's busy holiday party. All heck broke loose when he'd found them in the guest bedroom after spending 20 minutes looking for her everywhere. So we drank a bit then and ended up having sex. He apologized and told me that it was a mistake and he wasn't in his right mind, that he just wanted revenge sex, but it didn't make him feel any better after. I tried to message him platonically a few times after to see if he was alright, but he blocked me. So I dropped it and went on with my therapy and life. I went in last week to check with my doctor since I've been getting bad cramps and to get a new prescription refill for my birth control that I used to help with my PCOS. I had to do a usual test to double check for the possibility of me being pregnant, and I was very surprised when it came back positive. I've been sitting on this new knowledge and I've been contemplating whether or not I should tell him, or if I should even keep the pregnancy. My doctor did inform me that since I'm still in the early stages, I am still at a big risk of having a miscarriage, so I don't know if I should even be worrying about it at all since there's a chance I could lose it. And then it would just seem like I was trying to grab at his attention or something, especially after he'd made it clear to me that he wasn't comfortable talking to me anymore after we slept together. I've not told anyone and I've been going crazy because I don't know what to do. And there it is. That is the end of the original post. And that is the beauty of Reddit, that people can come onto the platform and just post stuff anonymously. Nobody has to know it's them saying it, and they can get some real advice in the comments down below. Okay, and there we go. A lot to unpack there, and obviously there is an update to come, which was actually posted not too long ago on May the 20th of this year, so a good couple of months after the original. But yeah, just off the bat, I feel like you just gotta tell the guy. I know you might miscarriage, but you also might not. He just needs to know. He does need to know. I mean, I put myself in that position. If somebody was out there that was pregnant with my child, you know, no matter what the context, I think I'd have to know. So for his sake, you've got to tell him. And then, yeah, ultimately, you know, it's your decision. You do what you want to do, but he's got to know. I really think you've got to tell him. Anyway, as I said, let's get into the update. I mean, just a crazy series of events, really. But yeah, without further ado, here we go. A lot has happened since my original post. I know a lot of people are against this, but I went through with the pregnancy and I am forever thankful for my beautiful baby. Hang on a second, guys. Okay, I've completely got this wrong. The original was posted February 19th, 2023, not 2024. So, you know, a year and 4 months ago. And this update is from just a couple of months ago, May 20th, 2024. Oh my goodness. OP continues, I had originally planned to get an abortion, but I found myself unable to go through with the appointment. I'm pro-choice and I always will be. Just because I chose to keep my baby doesn't mean that another woman or girl should be forced to keep a pregnancy they do not wish to continue. Everyone has a right to their own bodies. My parents were very upset with me, and my whole family disowned me. I listened to what some of you said about letting the father know, we'll be referring to him as Dave, and after many failed attempts to reach out to him, I decided to go in person. Dave wasn't happy when I showed up at his place, but when I told him why, he agreed to talk with me. Dave let me know that he'd officially ended things with his ex and wanted to go no contact with me because I was another tie to his past with her, but he was willing to try and figure out a co-parenting plan with me if I agreed to a paternity test first. I of course felt a bit bad about the paternity test part, but I agreed to it since we both had only been acquaintances that bonded over our trauma. Everything was honestly easy cruising until I started to spot around the 26-week mark. My OBGYN explained that while spotting is normal while pregnant, mine was heavier, and my blood sugar and blood pressure also both worried them because of gestational diabetes and preeclampsia risk. After a few nights of Dave insisting on sleeping on my couch, I had him help me move some of my things to his place since he lived close to the hospital. I'm very thankful I decided to semi-move in with him when I did, because I went into premature labour at 32 weeks. I'm very thankful to have had Dave and his family as my support system. His mum would come and switch out with him at the hospital and advocated for me whenever I felt washed out or unheard. She helped me both emotionally and physically and stood by me. Dave's mum also helped me work through my emotions when all I wanted was my mum. She and my dad had gone no contact with me after I decided to keep and have my baby. Dave's mum was an absolute godsend also because she's a retired nurse. She started in OB, went to NICU, and eventually later settled into lactation before retiring, and explained things to me when we found out that my baby had respiratory problems and had SUA, single umbilical artery, and that it could have been a factor into why I went into premature labor. She stayed with Dave and I so she could help me with pumping since I wasn't able to produce milk, and encouraged me when I felt like such a failure for not being able to take care of my son when he needed me the most. She drove me to and from the hospital while my son was in the NICU because I was healing and so mentally and physically exhausted. I really and truly believe that I didn't fall into deep postpartum depression because she held me and helped me with each step and was always so patient with me, even when I wasn't with myself. Dave's mum would constantly remind me that nothing was our fault and no one did anything wrong. It's just that everyone is faced with hardships in life, and this was one we'd work together to get through. Oh my goodness me, Dave's mum is an angel. Wow. My son graduated from the NICU and came home a month after I did. Dave's mum visited us often and helped with him since Dave and I are first-time parents. Dave's dad joked that he felt like she and I had the baby together, and he and Dave were both just background characters that make guest star appearances every now and then, since Dave was working so much in order to build more PTO, and his mum wouldn't bring his dad along when she'd come visit since she didn't want him to disturb me and the baby with his loudness. Dave's dad is hard of hearing and can sometimes be unaware of his volume, so he took no offense to it. Okay, fair enough. I thought it was just a very loud person. Dave's siblings and family members posted a lot about our son because he was the first grandchild and first baby in a long time. Dave's youngest cousin is 17, turning 18 this year. Now somehow, someone must have shared a photo or something, but pictures of us reached my family, and my parents demanded that I let them meet my son. Dave was supportive of whatever I chose to do and said that he'd agree to them meeting him if that's what I wanted. After thinking about it for a few days, I decided that I wanted to talk to my parents before I let them meet my son. When we met up to talk, my parents were offended that I hadn't brought my son with me and left him with Dave's parents. They said some really hurtful things, and then my dad started to question when Dave was going to ask him for permission for us to get married since we didn't already have a shotgun wedding while I was pregnant. I was okay with them insulting me since I'd grown up with it and was used to it, but once my parents put their target on Dave and his family, I became upset and decided it was time for us to leave. My parents did try to petition for legal visitation rights. Honestly, before this whole ordeal, I did not even know that grandparents' rights existed. Actually, neither did I. Comment down below if you knew that was a thing. Wow. But they were denied because my son is still very young and because both Dave and I are very much on good terms. we're living in the same household, and they couldn't find or prove that there was any danger to our son's well-being. My family did try to reach out to us and claim that we were horrible people for denying my parents their grandchild, but no one ever seemed to be able to make a peep when Dave's family would defend us and point out that my family had been the one to disown me and that no one cared to see if I was okay until after I had the baby and everything was handled. Dave's mum and my mum got in a verbal, almost physical altercation after my mum had made false reports to CPS and called the police to do multiple welfare checks on us. My mum was given a police warning for harassing us after one specific incident where she threw a tantrum and caused a scene when the police found nothing wrong in the welfare check and refused to listen to her demands to have my son temporarily taken away from us and put in her custody for his safety. That's in quotes. Dave and I currently have restraining orders pending against my parents and certain family members. One of the reasons I decided to update is because about 2 months ago, a friend of Dave's asked him to have some drinks, and they ran into his ex-fiancée, who later messaged him to tell him that she regretted the way they ended and how she was very hurt when she heard that we had a baby together, especially with it being so soon after their relationship. Dave wouldn't talk to me about how he felt, and when I asked him, he just brushed me off or switched the conversation onto a topic about our son that he knew would distract me. I noticed Dave pulling away from me and how our relationship became a bit awkward and strained after their run-in and her message, because I know he still has feelings for her and I'm afraid that he might feel trapped with me and our son. I also noticed that the drama with my family has made Dave and his family less patient with me and my son. During Mother's Day, I overheard a few of his family members make comments to Dave about me being at their family barbecue since I was just my son's mum and not really part of the family. Dave just shrugged and said I didn't have anyone else to spend the day with. Oh, not a great answer there from Dave. With how tense things have been, I've been thinking about moving out and back into my place. I stayed with Dave at his place after I gave birth, but now that our son is slightly older and I am healed, I want to give Dave back some space so that he can start dating again if he wants to, and give him back some more bachelor time when I have our son. I want to find a way to approach me moving out and us making a co-parenting plan without making things more awkward or possibly ruining the relationship I have with Dave and his parents. I don't want them to feel like I'm not grateful or anything, but I do want to go back to work and get my life back on track so that I can provide my portion of needs for my son and not want to depend on his family for more than is appropriate. Okay, that is it for the update. We do just have one more additional post from OP posted on May the 24th, 2024, just 4 days after that update. I've been trying my best to not check my phone or Reddit since I'm honestly a little overwhelmed right now. I'll let you all know that I did talk to Dave and he was against me moving out. He also wasn't willing to talk about the situation with how he's been acting after running into his ex, and he said that I was bringing up something that didn't matter since we were talking about me wanting to move out. I haven't said anything about what I heard during Mother's Day, and I don't think I'm going to mention it since I feel really bad. It was meant to be a private conversation. I don't think anyone meant anything bad. Wait, sorry, I've got to just interrupt there. The whole point of a private conversation is that you say how you really feel. I'm sure they did mean bad. I mean, I don't think they expected you to hear it, but what they were saying was definitely true, OP. True as in that is what they believed and they were not holding back. I know that's harsh, but let's be honest, guys, that is true. During our conversation, Dave let me know that maybe I'm just overthinking or overreacting, and that I shouldn't make big decisions like moving out. He also said that because our son is a preemie, he'd prefer if one of us was a stay-at-home parent until he turned 2 to 3 years old so that he could catch up with his peers, and then once he started pre-K, we could go back to work again. But I feel like he's been trying to avoid me since that conversation, although I could also be overthinking like he said. I don't know, after reading some comments, I do feel like I'm valid in the way I feel, but I'm also not sure anymore. I want to do what's best for my son. I know people already think I'm so dumb and that I shouldn't have had him, but I'm trying to be better for my son. I feel like he's my only family left and I really want to try to do what's best for him. Oh, OP, if there's one thing you're not, it's dumb. I mean, are you joking? Some of the stuff that's happened to you throughout this and the way you've dealt with it in such a calm and considerate and intelligent way is the opposite of a dumb person. I mean, I don't know how you've done so well, to be honest. There's no way that the majority of people would be able to handle things as well as you have and with as much logic and thought. Yeah, you've done an amazing job. So I think you need to understand that. The problem that I have though is that I just don't know about Dave. I really don't know. It seems to me, OP, as if he wants you to be a stay-at-home mum, but not his wife, not his partner or anything, just stay at home and be his child's mum. To be honest, I don't actually know if he wants anything to do with you at all, really. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm going too far with that. He's obviously been nice to you at moments, but I don't know. It seems as if, yeah, he just wants to let you do the mothering, him work, and that's kind of it for your relationship. I don't really know if that's best for you though, OP. I mean, clearly it's not. You've said yourself you want to get back to having some sort of normal life. I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'm reading into that a little bit too much, but I don't know. It's a weird one, him saying, no, I want you to stay and just stay at home, but we're not in a relationship, but we're co-parenting. I don't know. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below, guys. Yeah, to be honest, the more I think about it, the more I think that you should just move out, OP. It's what you want to do, and you don't want to be a stay-at-home mum. You've explicitly said that. So yeah, you don't just want to be gaslit by Dave into thinking that you're overthinking things when you're not. You just want to do what you want to do, and obviously you've got every right to do that. I would say, if you can, move out. Simple as that. A mother's instigation, a daughter's completion. I have promised my late friend that I wouldn't share this story until at least a year after her death. That time has passed, and this is nothing short of beautiful. Cruel, but beautiful. I'm going to switch to first person POV. This is the story as my late friend told me. I was an only child to two loving parents. Mum had a difficult pregnancy and an even harder labour. It was so bad that the doctor advised that they never try again. Because he didn't want his wife to die, Dad got a vasectomy that was successful. I was sad that I didn't have any siblings, but I had a happy childhood until I was a young adult. When I was in the middle of college, Mum was diagnosed with stage 4 high-grade serous ovarian cancer. It's the most aggressive form of ovarian cancer, and Mum's older sister and Mum both died from it. We knew her odds weren't good. I don't know what Dad was thinking, I really don't, but he started an affair with his co-worker, a woman just a few years older than me. The co-worker started integrating herself into my and Mum's life. She'd go shopping for us, keep the house in order, help with homework, and even sit with Mum when Mum was going through chemo and Dad and I weren't there. And no, I had no clue at all. I just thought it was the co-worker being kind to a family going through hard times. Mum fought. She fought hard, but the odds just weren't in her favour. One day I was visiting her in hospice and we were playing chutes and ladders. Mum got real quiet and then she told me, "You do know your dad isn't planning to reverse his vasectomy, right?" I was surprised, wondering what she was talking about. "Yeah, I know," I said. "Why?" Mum just looked at me and said, "I think you'd best keep it in mind." We continued playing, and when I left for the night, I kissed her, and she said, "You'll be fine on your own." She died that night. I believe she knew she was going to die that night and didn't want to scare me. Once again, the co-worker was right by our side. She helped us plan the funeral, brought us food, helped out around the house, and slowly started moving her things in. It was like putting a frog in a pot of water and having the temperature raised. It was slow. It was gradual. A year or so later, she had completely moved herself in and was part of our lives. I don't remember what made me suspicious enough to start digging, but start digging I did. I learned the affair began shortly after Mum's diagnosis. I was sickened, furious, and saddened. I took out my cell phone, ready to confront Dad and co-worker with the knowledge, but something else struck me. See, during one of her visits, the co-worker mentioned to Mum and me that she wished to have children with her fiancé. Mum knew that the affair was going on, and she trusted me to spill the beans. But I wanted to twist the knife further. As a result, I decided to play the long game. It was a gamble, one that had a good chance of not paying off, but it was one I was willing to take. I kept my mouth shut. I watched as they courted, got engaged, and married 3 years later. I squealed with delight when they announced their engagement to me. I wore a proud smile on their wedding day, and I made a toast at the reception. I even took extra steps to hide test results from Dad's urologist in such a way that the co-worker couldn't find it, but Dad would. Believe me, I was internally screaming. I wanted the world to know the way they hurt Mum and me during her darkest hour. I got dangerously close several times, but I said nothing, knowing the payoff would be worth it. Time passed. We played happy family. I got married to my awesome husband and had children. My dad and co-worker played doting grandparents, but I knew from the pained look on the co-worker's face that she was bemoaning her empty nest. Just as I was beginning to give up hope, the day came. The co-worker and I had started the tradition of getting together for coffee shortly after Mum's death. We talk girl things, again as I internally screamed. Laugh, cry, love, live, that sort of thing. That day, the co-worker was sad and sullen. I could tell that she'd been crying. I asked what was wrong. I couldn't believe my ears when I heard why. She was struggling to get pregnant for years, but assumed it was stress from work. Then her periods started coming fewer and farther between. She decided to go to the doctor and find out why. It turned out she was entering perimenopause, and her chances of successfully getting pregnant had dwindled. The doctor told her, in essence, that her childbearing years were over. As I crooned sympathetic noises, the co-worker said, "It doesn't make sense. We tried so hard to have kids, but I wasn't able to get pregnant. I don't know why." It was then that I knew it was time. "You mean Dad didn't tell you?" I said. "Didn't tell me what?" she asked. I was fighting every chance to smile as I tried playing the "it's not my right to tell" and "I can't believe he didn't tell you" cards until she practically begged me. I should have won an Oscar for my performance. I told her about the vasectomy and that Dad had no intention of reversing it. You should have seen her. She completely deflated like a balloon. Her shoulders slumped, she bowed her head, and she sobbed in her hands. I wanted to rejoice. I wanted to rub her face in it. I knew though that would make me look like the bad guy. So I hugged her and rubbed her back, telling her that Dad was horrible for not telling her, that she deserved a different outcome and that he completely wasted her time. Again, I was fighting to not smile. When she left, I told her I would always be there for her, but I knew she wasn't going to be part of my life anymore. Why would she? I was the daughter of the man who betrayed her. Once she had left and I was alone, I wept with joy and relief that it paid off, but also deep sorrow that Mum hadn't been there to see it. That was the last time I saw or talked to the co-worker. A few weeks later, Dad called me in a fury. She had packed her bags and left, slapping him with divorce papers. She yelled at him for not being honest with her that he had a vasectomy that he had no intention of reversing, that he knew she wanted kids and that she had wasted all of her childbearing years and that he had left it to me to tell her. He then said, "How could you do that to us? We loved you." I said in a cold tone, "You and Mum did a good job teaching me how to keep secrets." I hung up and that was it. I never spoke to him again either. The last I heard, he and the co-worker were divorced and everyone shunned him because of him keeping the secret. I know I won't be joining Mum after I die. What I did was cruel. It was horrible. I should have done what Mum wanted and spilled the beans beforehand instead of wasting the co-worker's youth and childbearing years. Even if she could adopt, she'd probably die before her children were fully grown. Although, it's hard to have compassion and mercy for a woman who integrated herself into my dying mum's life as she was screwing my mum's husband. Wow, that was great. What a start to this episode. I've got to be honest with you. I actually think that in your mum's heart of hearts, I reckon that she actually would have wanted you to do what you ended up doing. I know she didn't explicitly say it, and I know she said, "It's in your hands now. You can tell them," or you can tell, the co-worker that your dad isn't being honest with her. But I think what you did was just so much sweeter. It is fair as well. Come on, it is. This co-worker is a horrible, horrible woman. She knows exactly what's going on. She knows that your mum is gonna die very soon, sadly. She's preying on that. And, your dad is equally as bad, if not worse. But them two together are terrible. And yeah, this woman doesn't deserve the satisfaction of having kids. It's simple as that. What I can't get over is your dad saying to you, "How could you do that to us? We loved you." So, sorry, he kept his vasectomy a secret for decades, but then blamed his daughter for eventually telling his new wife after all those years. Absolutely insane. Anyway, let's get into the second story of revenge. This one, to be honest, it's not as nuclear, but I think the payoff might be even better than that. Now moving on to our next story of revenge. This one comes from r/prorevenge. Fired from my job, but received a year's worth of pay and got my boss fired. This happened in the early 2010s before the advancement of technology in video editing and content creation. I was hired as a content creator for a university that wanted to leverage YouTube to kickstart their branding campaign. The pay was low, roughly $2,200, and in those days, there were not that many video content creators around, and the process usually took a long time from start to finish. I was hired, and on my second day, the manager presented my KPI of 85 3 to 10 minute videos in 52 weeks, which was impossible for a one-man team in those days. I mean, even now, that would be extremely hard. Wow. This meant that I had to do the scripting, producing, casting talents, shooting videos, composing music. They were too cheap to pay for a royalty-free music subscription, and editing, all of which I had to use my own equipment and software because their cameras and computers were so old, they simply couldn't handle the strain of even doing things in 720p, much less 1080. Oh my goodness me. I tried to let my manager know, but she just smiled encouragingly, telling me to give it a try, assuring me if the videos were good, the quantity would not be what she focused on. Hearing this, I agreed to give it a try. My manager treated me well in the first month. However, one day when she found out I was a smoker, her attitude changed overnight. A colleague had actually done a facepalm when I told her about it, and she let me know that the manager hated smokers and often advocated to get them fired. She started nitpicking me on everything, from smelling like cigarette smoke after my breaks, coming in 5 to 10 minutes late despite doing more than 4 hours of overtime daily, not being contactable during break times, the list goes on. But I soldiered on because I just wanted to do the work and do it well. One thing I'm not actually sure about is how much is OP getting here, guys? They say that the pay was low, roughly $2,200 US. I presume that is per month. I mean, I hope it's per month. Ideally, it'd be per week, but yeah, if that's per year, well, okay, that's ridiculous. But even if it is that much per month, that is still way too low, surely. OP continues. 5 months in, I was called into the director's office, where I saw my manager putting on her best, displeased but gleeful face, and I felt my stomach drop. The director told me that she was disappointed because she had heard that I was falling behind on my work, and it was already halfway through the year, and I'd only completed 30 out of my 85 videos. I tried to explain that I'd been working my butt off on these videos. I literally worked 6 days out of the week, over 60 hours, just to do what needed to be done, and that being a one-man army made things impossible. And also, the fact that the views I'd put up grossed the highest views ever on their YouTube page. I also recounted how my manager said that she was looking for quality videos over quantity. The director, though, dismissed this and stated that the KPI was simply 85 videos in a year, and since it was almost half a year in, with my numbers at less than half, she felt it prudent to cut the cord early. I asked how would they even meet the KPI if they were to fire me now, and my manager had snorted, saying, "We'll find a professional production house to finish your work." The director had given her an odd look, but nodded in her support nonetheless, telling me, "You don't need to worry, your manager will get the job done." That was when a light bulb went off in my head. Seeing as I was the content professional in the office, one of my jobs was to keep a database of production houses to use in the event that we needed to do a shoot that required more resources, and I was sure that they would be using the production houses in my database as my manager had no contacts in the production industry. So, I changed the contact numbers and messed up all the emails on all of the entries except one. This one, I had a friend working as a junior director, not an assistant director, but a director assigned to smaller video projects. I gave him a call and told him of my plan, and sure enough, within 2 days, they were called to come in to pitch. I told him that I had a plan that was a win-win for us. It would instantly help him and put him on the fast track to a director position by bringing in that much business to his production house, and it would also benefit me financially. I would teach him exactly how to pitch to win over the boss and the director, and in turn, his company would pay me a standard finder's fee of 15%. He agreed instantly and immediately put me on the line with his general manager, who, upon realizing this was to be 6 months of work for a high 6-digit payout, instantly agreed and drew up a contract. Sorry, are you telling me that these guys were only willing to pay you $2,200 per month, but now willing to pay over, 6 digits, over $100,000 for the next 6 months? Insane. As it turns out, after I gave them a metaphorical step-by-step playbook, they were the perfect fit, somehow understanding the needs and style of the university, as well as the sort of themes the university wanted to feature. The director and my former boss were amazed that my friend's production house was so familiar with their content that they signed them on the spot. Now, even back then, using a production house was not cheap. Each video that they produced could cost double to triple my monthly salary, given that they had specialized people for each function. Producer, director, director of photography, gaffer, sound person, video editor, assistant director, production assistants, etc. But this meant that they could complete a video every 2 to 3 days. So yes, they produced 50 videos in a span of 4 months for over 100 months of my salary. And I sat back and collected the healthy 15%, which was about 15 months of my salary. This allowed me to put money aside for a holiday and the rest to further my studies with a respected film school overseas. Wow. Okay, so they're getting 100 months of OP's salary. That means that the university are paying them $220,000, well, over $220,000 to do this work when they were only paying OP $2,200 per month. That is crazy. OP continues, I thought my plan ended here and I'd gotten back at my former bosses. But to my surprise, I received a call from my colleague while I was holidaying in Bali one day. This was the same colleague who had facepalmed when I told her that my manager had found out that I was a smoker. She told me that my former manager had been fired and my director given a massive blasting by the chancellor of the uni. The content creation project which I was hired for was only given a budget equating to about 1.5 years of my salary, and they'd exceeded that budget by over 10 times. My former manager was so desperate to ensure that her content creation project could be completed that she'd thrown caution to the wind, paying anything to get the job done so that she could show my director that she had completed the project and had approved the massive spend without getting consent from the director. So that is how I got my friend a super fast promotion to a full director in his production house and a year of pay after getting unfairly fired from my job. That was phenomenal. Okay, that was a great story, and I can actually speak firsthand from my own experience here. When you are trying to make videos completely yourself, and now fortunately in this day and age, the channel's done well enough that I can have some other people help me. For example, I don't edit the videos anymore, all the episodes. Steve-O does that. A lot of you guys will know him. He's been with me for over 5 years now. Shout out Steve-O. But if you're doing it all on your own, it is so challenging. To be honest, I don't really know how I did it when I was doing it on my own, and my videos aren't even that that taxing really. But filming it all yourself, narrating it all yourself, and then editing it, making it into a video, doing the thumbnail, like getting camera equipment, all that sort of stuff, it takes a lot of effort. And this is not like uni level sort of showing off the university, trying to get whatever the point of the channel was. Like, I'm just reading stories, and that was a lot of effort. But goodness me, I don't know how the uni thought you were able to do this, or were going to be able to do this on your own to that level. That quantity is insane. It's just like they just don't understand it. Like they've asked OP to be a full production studio on their own, using all their own equipment. It's ridiculous. And then they've just gone, actually, yeah, let's just spend loads of money and I think we'll get away with it because we might get some views. Like, if that's part of your actual strategy, fair enough, if you want to, spend a lot of money. And I think it would probably be worth it. I think, to be honest, I was quite impressed at the start of this when you said that back in the early 2010s, a university was looking to leverage YouTube to kickstart their branding campaign. That is great. I'd encourage every university to do that, and the majority, to be fair, do that now. But back in the early 2010s, that's forward thinking. So respect to them a little bit for that, genuinely, but not in the way they went about it. That is just awful. So bad, and they need to give their brains a wobble. And thankfully, they're not in the role anymore. Good stuff, and congratulations for getting a great lump of severance and helping your mate out as well. Maid of honor kicked out of wedding on wedding day. Things escalate. This was originally posted on May the 31st, 2024. This was originally posted on May the 31st, 2024 with the title, I tried to warn the bride that her bridesmaid dresses wouldn't work for me, but she insisted, and now she's annoyed because I look like the bride. I'm supposed to be the maid of honor tonight for a wedding. My husband is the best man, and we've been friends with this couple for a long time. The problem is that now I'm being kicked out for being black, and my husband wants to step down as best man because of it. It's causing a whole thing. To clarify, because this is important, the bride is not racist in any way, she's just kind of dumb for refusing to listen. My skin color is the issue, but not because she has a problem with it overall, just because she didn't realize that my skin would make a dress look different on me than on others. She's had this vision for her wedding forever, apparently. Her bridesmaid dresses are nearly identical to her wedding dress in style, except a different color. And on the bridesmaids' dresses, the detailing stops at the waist and they're not laced up in the back. My dress as maid of honor is an exact carbon copy of hers, just in the other color. Now here is where it gets to be a mess. She picked this color the company calls morning gray for her bridesmaid dresses. Morning gray, for anyone wondering, is like a soft pastel gray that's pretty much a shade of white. On the other bridesmaids, the dress absolutely looks gray. A very soft, very ethereal gray, but a gray nonetheless. All the other bridesmaids are also white. I'm not. I'm not only black, but as I've been to the beach for another wedding this year, I'm darker than I normally am. Against my skin, the dress undeniably looks white. Like the only way you can tell mine is actually grey is if I'm standing directly next to the bride and the dresses are side by side. Then you can see that mine is slightly grey and hers isn't. Now the bride ordered all of the dresses and picked the colour herself. I tried to tell her she should order mine in a darker shade of grey because I've been down this road before where I've been accused of wearing white at a wedding because the dress I wore looked white in the sunlight even though it wasn't. She insisted that she had her cousin try it on and the colour was perfect and you could easily tell it was grey. I tried to explain to her that her cousin is the colour of printer paper and that it would look different on me, but she was unwilling to have her, quote, vision modified. Now she's annoyed at me because it's clear when it's hanging with the other dresses that mine is the same colour as the other bridesmaids. She's decided the only option is to kick me out of the wedding so I don't upstage her. However, she wants me to give my dress to one of the other bridesmaids, which I said was fine as soon as she reimbursed me the money for it. It was $350 compared to the rest of the bridesmaids who paid about $125. But then one of the bridesmaids promptly pointed out that none of them could even wear my dress. I'm not huge, but I am incredibly top heavy. I wear a 34H bra, which is part of why my dress was so much more expensive than the other bridesmaids. The other part being the extra detailing. So none of the other bridesmaids would be able to keep my dress up, even if the lacing was pulled as tight as it would go. So now she's decided that I've ruined her perfect wedding. She screamed at me and told me that not only am I not in the wedding, but she doesn't even want me to attend as a guest, which annoyed my husband, A, because she was warned. I even sent her photos of a dress that I wore that was almost the same colour to a different wedding, and B, because he doesn't want to attend a wedding we travelled for without me, and he thinks it's BS since she insisted on that dress colour. Okay, so there we go. That is the original post. And before we get into the thoughts of some other people on Reddit who have commented down below, I just have to say a few things myself. First of all, are you 100% sure that the bride isn't actually racist? Now, I know you've said she isn't, but just based on a few things that I'm reading there in the first post, and I'm not talking about her saying, the bride saying that you need to leave because the dress doesn't look the right color on you. Not even that, just the tone and the way she was going about what eventually happened, as in not even inviting you to the wedding after all, even though you're meant to be one of her closest friends and were going to be the maid of honor. Like you could still just come as a guest, right? I don't know. Very, very strange behavior. Also, the fact that she's asking to replace you with someone that is white or lighter anyway. I mean, you can say it's not racist because it's about the color of the dress. It sounds pretty racist to me. I don't know. There are ways to go about it which would make her seem less racist, is all I'm going to say. I mean, overall, she just does seem like a terrible person, to be honest. But yeah, let's see what the comments are saying. It's worth saying as well that you did absolutely nothing wrong here, OP, at all, and the way you've been treated is horrible. Okay, so somebody said, you're not the jerk, you did nothing wrong, and I'd fully support your husband stepping out as well. Neither of you are ruining the wedding. The bride did that all on her own. What an absolute... Ugh, never mind. Also, you say she isn't racist, but this comes across as someone who might just be a little. Like someone who screams, I don't see colour, or who says, I can't be racist because I have friends of colour. Well, lady, your behaviour tells otherwise. And you, OP, you deserve so much better than this. Somebody else said, OP went out of her way to say her, maybe former, friend isn't racist, but this sounds pretty racist to me. She went from maid of honor to being screamed at and uninvited to the wedding and is being replaced by someone with lighter skin who doesn't compromise the bride's aesthetic. Yeah, I mean, that is exactly what I was saying. I don't know. It's weird though, because you wouldn't just suddenly become racist, and she was invited with a pretty major role at the beginning of this, maid of honor. It's one of the most important roles there is at a wedding. So I'm not sure. Maybe she is just really, really strange and was genuinely horrified at how the color looked on you. And that's nothing to do with your skin, even though it is to do with your skin, but it's just purely an aesthetic thing. I don't know. Is that racist anyway? I'm not sure. And then somebody else commented, describing the cousin's skin tone as a print paper is freaking funny. Thank you for that. Why can't she have you in a different colored dress? Some brides do that for their maid of honors. Just dye it or something. That's an extreme overreaction on her part, especially since you warned her. That is a great point. You could just get another dress and still be the maid of honor. She doesn't have to replace you. Maybe she is racist after all. The comment continues, you're clearly close since you're her maid of honor, so you'd think she'd trust what you look like in a certain color, but Bridezilla clearly lost their marbles. I'm thinking you dodged a bullet on this one, and hubby will too once he dips, but there has to be other solutions than straight kicking you out. If you really want to stay in it, ask her if you can find someone to dye the dress if she's amenable to you having a different shade. Now that whole thing is a very good point. Yeah, there are solutions here which do not involve just flat kicking you out of the entire wedding. Okay, let's move on to the update. This was posted on the same day for everyone who is asking what happened. So, after I posted, things got ugly and the groom called everything off. Actually, this is a very good point. So, when actually is the wedding? That's what we haven't actually been told yet, have we? I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, maybe this is the day before or the week before, but the wedding seems imminent. I initially offered to dye the dress since I was the only person not getting my hair done. My hair's been damaged more than once by stylists who don't know how to handle the texture, so I'm very limited in who I will let do it, and instead I usually do it myself. The groom thought this was a great idea and even offered to pay for the stuff needed to dye it and let me use his parents' place to do it. While he went to go talk to his parents though, my now ex-friend nixed that, because then I would stand out even more. So I asked what she meant by stand out even more, and a whole lot of truth came out. Apparently, she initially hadn't wanted me in the wedding at all, but her ex-fiancé is one of my oldest and best friends, and my husband was, note the past tense, one of hers. That's why we introduced them to each other in the first place, because we thought they would hit it off, and they did. Anyway, because my husband was the closest thing she has to a sibling, she really wanted him to be the man of honor at their wedding. And initially, the now ex-groom said that was fine, and he would just have me as a best woman so things would look balanced, and two men didn't have to walk down the aisle or whatever. She really didn't like that, so they decided to switch it up, no big deal. Except apparently it was because I'm the only person of colour in the whole wedding party, and one of very few who will be at the wedding at all, and I'm going to stand out in every single picture. I asked her, what about the groom's parents? The groom is white, but he's adopted by a black couple and is quite close to both his biological and adoptive parents. But if you ask who his parents are, he always says the people who raised him. Her theory was that his biological parents would be in the pictures and not his adoptive parents. Oh my goodness, I'm only laughing because it's so insane. Well, when the groom came back and heard this, he flipped out, and then she said the dumbest thing she could have. Apparently, quote, it's not his fault, he had no control over who adopted him, and the pictures should just be, another quote, real family. Well, at that point, the groom had heard enough and told her that they were his real family, and he couldn't believe she'd say that. She was not the person he thought she was, and he was not marrying her. She gets annoyed and tells him he's being ridiculous, but his parents can be in some of the photos, and they'll take some without. He tells her again that he is in no way, shape, manner, or form marrying her after what he heard, and in fact he wants nothing to do with her. She gets upset and says, well, she's at least going to go have fun at the reception. He reminds her that he and his parents paid for everything, including the reception, and she is not welcome, and he will be informing the security of that fact. The bride runs off and tells her parents what he's saying and doing, so they come out, all guns blazing, and confront him, but apparently she didn't give them all the facts because when he laid it out for them, they were appalled. Her father literally tore her a new one, talking about how she was not raised that way, and he couldn't believe this was the person she'd become. They apologised to the groom, offered to pay for half of the wedding, and they left with their daughter. So, we spent the afternoon with the groom, several of the bridesmaids, and all of the groomsmen, who were all equally shocked by her behaviour. I'd say we were consoling the groom, but we weren't. He was too busy ranting about dodging a bullet. Last night, we went to the reception, partied until like 3 a.m. and had a great time. As for the dress, I have an event later this summer and I'm going to dye the dress and wear it for that. Alright, let's just get straight into the comments. Wow, I cannot believe what I've read. Someone said, I'm sorry that you all had to find out that she was a horrible person, but thank goodness it was discovered before the wedding and before kids. I agree. There is a silver lining in this, and I feel like the groom-to-be explained and accepted it very, very quickly. He's actually in many ways fortunate that he found out now. Now, obviously, it's not ideal to find out that the person you're about to marry is a disgusting racist, but at least you find out before you tie the knot. Fair play to him for having that mentality so soon after that event. But anyway, let's carry on with this comment. The ex must be breathing a sigh of relief, but how is your husband doing? You stated that your husband is the closest thing she has to a sibling, so he must be a combination of furious and heartbroken. I'm so glad though that you all had a blast at the reception, and I hope that everyone was also petty enough to share the heck out of the pictures on their socials with a caption, something like, living their best life now that the trash has been taken out. Best of luck to your friend. Opie replied to this 2 days after the wedding. My husband will probably be sad later because they had been friends for so long, but right now he's just disgusted that he was friends with someone who thought like that. Like, she was at our wedding. I think furious and heartbroken is absolutely accurate. So there we go. I guess I was right with what I first said after the original post. She was racist after all. Isn't that a great thing? Wow, predicting a racist. Just not sure. That's good, but yeah, it was, to be honest, now that I think about it in hindsight, pretty obvious based on some of the things that we saw in the original post that this woman was almost undeniably racist. You guys just hadn't explicitly found out yet. Just reading some of the comments down below now as well on the post that's all been put together with the updates. Someone quoting the original post, to clarify because it's important, the bride is not racist in any way. Then saying, she's going to be a big fat racist, isn't she? Yes, you are correct. I mean, can we just talk for a second about what she said about the groom's bio parents being allowed in photos, but his adoptive parents not being? Gosh, just actually insane. It is weird to me that you get this far in a relationship, you know, be engaged, be ready to go at the altar almost, before realizing that the person you're about to marry is so racist. I mean, surely you've had conversations and you've had, like, you know, meetups with the groom's adoptive parents before, and unless she's just been able to fake it really well, I don't know, if you're the groom, are you not seeing something in your fiance, in how she is with your adoptive parents, her relationship with them, that makes you think, something's not right there? Maybe not. Maybe she just hid it really well, but when it came to her big day, her wedding, she couldn't hide it for any longer, and she didn't want any black people in any of her photos. I'm 22 years old and just got the news I'm dying. I failed at life and I'm now leaving behind a 3-year-old daughter. Now, the original post came on November 26th, 2023. As the title says, last week I got the news that I am dying from lung cancer from my doctor. It turns out that smoking since I was 15 and then upping it to 3 packs each day a few years ago was a bad idea. Stupid, I know. I thought it wouldn't come so soon though. It's stage 4, and as of now, I have months to live. Please don't feel bad for me. I've done nothing good in life, except have my daughter, to really be sad about losing me. I've got no family because I grew up in the foster system and I aged out at 18. My daughter's father is in prison for serious crimes to the extent that even if he got out, he wouldn't be allowed to be in her life. My daughter is only 3. We don't live in a good area, and when I go to work, I have to leave her with an elderly neighbour that always gets her name wrong every day. I don't want her to grow up like I did, in that foster care system. I feel like it's the reason why I messed up and did nothing good with my life. Yeah, I know it's not the only reason, and my own stupidity caused most of my issues, but if I just had some family or a support system to keep me in check, it could have been better. I just want to give her some chance to have a better shot than I did. The thing is, I do have an idea for who could take care of her. One of my closest friends is a co-worker at my job, and she's amazing. While I'm at the bottom of the job, like if they need to lay off people, I would definitely be the first to go, she is their prized worker and makes serious bank. She has a good husband and a kid. I want to ask her if she'd be okay with adopting my little girl once I'm gone, but I know it won't go well. The thing is, my co-worker and her family are black, and me and my daughter are white. Like, we both have blue eyes and can't tan white. There's no way I can ask my friend to adopt my daughter and force her to deal with those kind of issues an adoption like that will bring to her family. But then that just leaves my little girl to grow up like I did, in a trashy system with only a will of about $1,000 to help her and a necklace my mother had that I'm going to give her. I don't know if I should bite the bullet and ask my close friend if she's willing to take my daughter, or just suck it up and try to work as hard as I can to get as much money into my will for my girl. But either way, I failed as a mother, and that is a regret I am literally taking to my grave. Now that is the end of the original post, although OP has added a little edit after pretty much the entirety of the comments were saying, no, you have to ask your friend, let her make that decision, but you have to at least ask her to see if she would be willing to adopt your daughter when you're gone, no matter how sad this story is. OP says, okay, I reached out to her and we were able to set up a place to meet. It's some simple, cheap bakery you can eat inside. I'm going to ask her if she can adopt my daughter. That way, if she says no, I can have more time to go to an adoption agency near us. Thank you for the support, everyone. Okay, let's get straight into the update. This was posted on December the 12th, 6 months ago, roughly 2023. All right, I'm back now. A day after my post, I was able to meet up with my friend / co-worker. And after telling her about my diagnosis, which is something I haven't told anyone at work, I asked her if she was willing to adopt my little girl. She was shocked and tried to comfort me about my upcoming death, but she told me she couldn't give me her answer right then and there. Well, it turns out that she does want a daughter, but something happened in her second pregnancy and caused her issues that I don't feel right in sharing. So she does want to consider adopting, but she first needed to talk to her husband and talk about planning if he agrees. I understood, since it was a big change in their family. I said okay, and after we ate, she gave me a hug and told me she will miss me. This is embarrassing, but I actually started crying. By the way, not at all embarrassing. I also started making the emails. It gave me this idea and I thought it was amazing. So I created an email for my daughter and started pre-recording videos for stuff. It's nowhere near ready, but I already have some ideas and recorded some videos for her birthdays and some big life events like first crushes and prom and first job. Sad to say, but I realized planning it that most of the videos will be don't do what I did. My friend reached out to me a few days ago and said that after having a long talk with her husband, they both are considering it. Apparently they do this thing where after talking about a huge change in their lives, they'll come to something to agree on and then wait for a while, and if they're still on the same page, then it sounds like a good idea. She did tell me that it wasn't a yes though, there are some issues they want to fix first. She said that while they both really like the idea, they barely know anything about my little girl. Her husband and 6-year-old son haven't even seen her, and while she has seen and heard about her, it's from me. So she told me about a plan they came up with. For the rest of this month, I'm going to have to get up 2 hours earlier than normal to drop off my daughter at their house so her husband can watch over her as he works at home. Then I'll go to work with my co-worker. This way, her husband and son can get to know her. She also said she wants us to celebrate Christmas with them, so that's something to look forward to in the future. This all started yesterday, and when I went to go and pick up my little girl, she was the happiest I've ever seen her in a long time. My friend's husband said that they went off on the wrong foot at the start. He said she was really scared a bit and didn't want to play with their son yet, but since it was their first day, he thinks she'll get better. We did it again today, and he said she mostly watched their son play, but it was already better than yesterday. So that's what's happening right now. I'm scared this will be for nothing, but at the very least, now my daughter is getting better at their house. So even if they say no, in the end, she already has some better memories than when she was with me. Okay, that is the end of the update. There is another couple to come though. Let's first of all jump into some comments. Somebody said, "Sending you so much love, sweetheart. I hope you're able to enjoy your little girl and find peace knowing she'll be with a loving family. And even if it ends up not working out, you did and are doing your best to provide her with the best possible future." Yeah, I mean, it's clear that OP is the sort of person that is extremely harsh on themselves. And I would say that OP is going too far. I don't think she can possibly be as bad a mother as she is explaining or expressing that she is. Yeah, look, she's just in a terrible situation. I mean, having lung cancer, despite smoking a lot, having lung cancer at the age of 22 that is terminal is extraordinarily tough. I mean, I think we can all agree on that. And yeah, leaving behind a daughter at 3 is just brutal. But you can see from what OP has said so far that she is a good mum and she's doing the very best to give her daughter the best life after she's gone. The commenter continues, just a recommendation with the email. Get a backup or backups for the video, be it a CD, USB, online backup or others. I have an email I use to receive only, and it goes directly to my mail app on iPhone, so I don't directly log into the account on Gmail. Well, I got an email some time ago that since there's been no activity on the email for a few years, the account will be closed in a few months. So I just sent myself a few emails, but it may happen. Please do get a backup. She'll definitely appreciate it. OP replied, thank you, I'll try to do backups in any videos. I think if my friend says yes after all of this, I'll tell her about the email deletion so she could help stop that from happening. That does scare me though, doing all these emails and having them lost before she could see them. Somebody else then said, I know I'm only an internet stranger, but as a mum, I'm proud of you. You don't have much, but everything you do have is focused on your baby girl, and that's what makes a great mum. One thing I will say to add to the email idea, if you can, grab some loose sheets of paper or a small notebook and write down your favorite recipes, including all the things you add that make it something only you've made. Give that to her, because one day she'll be happy to say, I made my mum's food. Write down little happy things you come across in the time you have left, not in email form, but in your own handwriting, because she'll treasure that in years to come, and it's a tangible link to you. Write down places you like to go, your favorite color, favorite music, things like that. Little pieces of you, so she'll have something to physically hold on to when times get hard. You have all my love. Wow, those are some great suggestions. OP replied to that. I was thinking of writing a letter for my little girl's 13th birthday. The only thing I have from my mum is this necklace that has been with me. I don't know what it is, but it has a lot of curls and hoops with a pretty, almost clear stone in the middle. I was going to write a letter explaining the necklace is from her grandmother, and now, since she's old enough, it's going to be hers. I do have recipes that I know she loves. That would be an amazing idea. She loves my egg salad sandwiches, so that is one recipe I'll write down. Thank you for the idea. All right, then let's jump into the second update. This posted on January the 20th, 2024, and it's a bit of a sad title. Update 2. My friend gave me her family's decision, and I also lost my job. I'm back again. I'm sorry for being gone so long. A lot has happened, and this will be my last post. So this is going to be long. Sorry. First, I started feeling really sick days after Christmas. My whole chest was hurting, like someone was hitting it with a hammer over and over, and I was coughing up blood. My best friend was terrified that I caught something, because the doctors have said that me getting sick right now could be deadly, so we had to go to the doctor. Thankfully, I didn't get anything, it was the symptoms getting worse. Also, thankfully at the time, I was still at work, so I didn't have to pay much for the bills. Yeah, that was another terrible thing that happened to me recently. After the trip to the hospital, my work called me in private. Remember how I said that if something were to happen, I'd be the first to go? Well, guess what? The bosses were telling me how they couldn't keep me there as I'm dying because it wouldn't feel right, and how it's apparent to them that my illness was slowing me down and forcing my co-workers to work harder to make up for me, and that wouldn't be fair and all that. I know I was just causing more problems to my co-workers since I got diagnosed, but I didn't think they would complain about me to my bosses. I'm so stupid for that. Of course, I was being a pain. I was hoping to still be with them till the end of the month so I could pay my apartment rent, and I barely had enough money for bills, rent, groceries, public transport, and the hospital. This is where my best friend / former co-worker comes in. After testing out caring for my little girl for a few weeks and spending a big holiday with them, she and her husband agreed to adopt her. She was telling me about some of her plans, and I told her it would probably be for the best that my daughter moves in with them. She asked me why, and I told her our work fired me, and I wouldn't be able to care for both of us with so little money. She told me we both could move in with them. They have plenty of guest rooms that I could pick. I actually cannot believe the 3 paragraphs I've just read there, guys. I'll wait until the end of the update until I give my thoughts. But oh my goodness me, this is just 100% illegal. Anyway, let's carry on and get to the end of the update before I actually explode. What have I just read? Okay, OP continues. I swear, I tried to say no. Her family was already doing so much for us. I felt like this was too much. She told me I could be a huge help for them living there during my last months. Her husband could use the help looking after her as he works. I can help them decorate and fix up her new room, show them the foods my daughter likes to eat. So I promise I'm not going to be a bother to them, and we are hard at work getting the needed papers together for the adoption after I'm gone. Besides, me living there could help my little girl become more comfortable in her new home. And guess how rich her family are? They have a personal family lawyer. When I haven't been feeling sick, we've been working with him to make sure the adoption goes through. Okay, maybe also get that lawyer to have a word with your bosses that fired you because you were ill. Something that is 100% illegal. Okay, after all of that, I do want to share some other fun news. Christmas with them was probably the best Christmas my daughter and even I have ever had our entire lives. My friend's family had like 5 Christmas trees in their entire house. 5? I mean, that's too much. 1, good amount. 2 or 3, that's quite a few. 4 is getting a little bit silly, I'd say. 5? Wow, they really must be rich. Thanks to my friend, I was able to make a really special Christmas gift for my daughter. A Build-A-Bear. Well, it was really a bunny, but still. I made a voice recording telling her how much I love and will always try to keep her safe. And my friend knows about the emails. I'm almost done with them actually, just a few more left. I gave her the password to both the email and this Reddit account, so once I pass, she could delete this one. Sorry, but I've been getting so many messages. I don't want people to message me when I'm gone. And about the messages, I've gotten a lot since I updated. Apparently my story was shared on TikTok. That's cool. It's weird that I've gotten so many people reaching out to me and messaging me wanting to talk. I've never had that happen in my life. It's funny how it happens once I'm dying. Tons saying how if my friend said no, they would love to adopt my little girl. Thank you, but thankfully my friend did say yes. But if you still want to adopt, please reach out to a foster care system in your state. There are still children struggling in the system going through what I did. Give those kids the life I could never have. I've also had some people saying how they would love to pay me money to help. Please don't bother. Sorry, but it feels weird accepting money. My whole life I've worked for everything I've had, so it feels wrong accepting money and help from strangers just because I'm dying. This actually makes me go back to the title of the post in its entirety. Just want to remind you guys of it. OP says that she failed at life. I mean, it's so like self-deprecating in the worst possible way because it's just not true. It's just not true at all. Anyway, let's carry on. OP says finally that she does want to address a few messages that she's gotten about race. Most were about why I cared about my friend's family and me and my daughter's race being different. It wasn't a lot, but a few called me a racist for caring about that. I want to say that my nerves about that isn't because I think me and my daughter being white makes us better than my friend or anything. Far from it. I've seen a lot of stuff in the system and talked with other kids of different races, and those kids of different races were put into care with people who were also a different race from them. They would tell me the problems they face from the parents. Not that I'm scared my friend will do that, but also from the outside world. Being called names and insulted. One kid told me how she got screamed at by some older lady at a restaurant, and the parents did try to get involved and it got into a nasty fight. So yeah, I was scared her family and my daughter would face the same bigotry the foster kids I knew from before faced. But I can't let my fears about some bigots ruin my daughter's chances. Anyway, this will be the last time I'm going to probably post on here. I don't want to waste my last days. I've thought about taking up painting again actually. I used to paint when I was in high school before I dropped out. And once in the same school, we read a classic book about a world where books are banned. I don't remember a lot from the story, but I do remember at the ending when a character said, "You didn't waste life when you make something to leave behind." That always stuck with me. I want to paint something. Maybe my friend could hang it up or keep it in their attic, but as long as I've left something behind, my life wasn't for nothing, right? I also need to help my friend's family and my daughter settle into their new lives. Thank you to everyone for your kindness, and goodbye. Somebody asked below this post, just quickly, what about your daughter's other parent, his parents, grandparents? I'm sorry this is happening, but please consider family first. To which OP replied, her father is in prison for hopefully a very long time because he did a crime involving children. So even if he got out, he would not be allowed around her. Not like I would want him to. Also, my parents are dead. Okay, now I said that before we get into the final update, I simply have to talk about what I've just read there. In relation, especially, to your old work saying or choosing to fire you because of your illness. Now that has to be illegal in so many ways. You're just not allowed to do that. I mean, unless you are and I don't know about it. In the UK, I know 100% for a fact that is illegal. You are not allowed to do that. If somebody has cancer, you cannot fire them. That you would get sued for so much money. I mean, maybe you'd even go to prison. I don't know. It's just illegal. So yeah, please, but I know it's kind of not that important to the story, but you simply have to ask this lawyer to get involved there and help you out. And, you know, because if you get a lot of money from this and you do successfully sue, then obviously that will help your daughter's future. So, I mean, I just couldn't believe that. Surely that is illegal in America if this is where that takes place. I mean, look, guys, let me know in the comments down below. That was unbelievable when I read that. Now, for the story as a whole, I mean, it's just so incredibly sad. And we are going to get into the final update just in a second that was posted just a few days ago at the time of recording in June, actually on June the 12th, my birthday, which actually makes this even sadder. We'll get into that. But yeah, I do just want to say before we do, OP is so harsh on herself, but she's actually just clearly an incredible person. Right, let's get into the final update. The title of this is She's Resting Now. I've written and deleted this post so many times. She asked me to update all of you when she passed, and yet I couldn't until now, and for that, I'm sorry. We buried her 2 weeks ago. My co-workers, our family, and even some friends she made over her life that she managed to keep in touch showed up to her funeral. When she saw the prices of what a casket and plot of land in that cemetery would cost, she had a panic attack, and so we told her we'll go with the cheapest prices. We lied about that. She deserved a good funeral and a nice resting place. Her name was Michelle. She was put into the foster care system when she was 3 after her mother passed in a car accident. She never knew her father. When she was 16, the man who was supposed to be caring for her took her out of high school. She found out she was pregnant from him when she was 18, and it was discovered he had horrible images and videos of children on his computer, and so was arrested. Ever since, she was working and doing her dang best to make ends meet for her and her daughter. She got a job at our workplace just a few weeks after she turned 19. I only discovered just a few months ago that she actually lied to get the job. I asked Michelle why she did that, and she responded, "Why would it be a big deal? They taught me everything anyways." That is the Michelle I knew. It shocks me reading over her messages she left behind, how little she thought of herself. She was always so confident, at least how we all saw her. She walked head held high and with a purpose. She never appeared out of control of a situation, except for the past few months, and honestly, I believe she was allowed to have moments of panic and grief. Nothing went past her too. She seemed to know everything that was going on around her at all times. It also seemed like Michelle wasn't afraid of anything. She even made friends with some homeless people around the area she lived in before moving in with us. One of them was Ted, who she knew because he was around a gas station besides the bus stop. Before her cancer took a turn for the worst and she was taken to a hospital, she asked me to drive her there. I thought at the time she wanted to see some familiar sights, but instead she walked into the gas station, bought a sandwich, and then walked around the side and handed it to who I learned was Ted. Ted showed up to her funeral. I don't want to describe her last few weeks when she was alive. It was in the hospital and she was so weak and frail, just not like her. We visited her as much as we could. Our children hated seeing her in such a state though. All of us did. But we couldn't just ignore her and leave her behind. I wonder if it was the right thing to do though. Our last visit, I just had a feeling it was the end. She was asleep when she finally passed on. She had gladioli and poppies at her funeral. We all loved the meaning behind the gladioli flower, and she picked poppies because she loved calling our daughter her little poppy. We painted little poppies on her bedroom walls. She keeps asking us where her mother is, and always sleeps with the bunny Build-A-Bear Michelle made. Michelle never got to finish her painting, but I think that makes it more special. We're gonna hang it up in our daughter's room when she gets older. The emails are finished, and she's going to see her first one on her 4th birthday. We have all the letters and recipes she was able to write down tucked away in a safe location. Like the painting, we'll give them to her as she grows older. We also were able to apply our daughter for full Social Security survivors benefits, and we'll be putting those into a savings account for future college or life use. That is all I can think of right now. According to Michelle's wishes, I'll be deleting this account in a few weeks. My husband and I promise we'll raise our daughter to the very best we can and make sure she is as loved as Michelle loved her. Thank you for all your kind words and support. Wow, and there we go. That is the end of that one. I'm lost for words as to what to say there. Just so sad. I really don't even know how to react to that. Sometimes you read a story and it just hits you, and that was one of those stories, no doubt about it. I'm actually not too surprised as well that Michelle's friend here, obviously the now mother of her daughter, was also a little bit taken aback by the fact that Michelle thought so little of herself. Because based on her actions in real life and just day to day and how amazing she seemed as a mother, you would have thought that she just was like, you know, really confident in her own ability, brave, courageous, just, yeah, backed herself and did the right thing a lot. But to hear her speak about herself in the way that she was speaking about herself in the first post and the updates that followed was a little bit shocking to me, and I didn't even know her, so I'm not surprised that her friend had the same sort of reaction. But yeah, again, all I can really say is Michelle's a great woman, and by the way, so is her friend, Michelle's daughter's new mum, adopted mum, for taking her on and yeah, just giving her a great life. It seems like they are a great family, and fair play to Michelle for not, you know, sending her daughter to the care system or letting her daughter go to the care system as she would have done, but doing this instead. Damn, what a story, eh, guys? Get your comments in down below. As always, I want to hear your thoughts, but wow, yeah, gobsmacked. So sad, but at least Michelle's daughter, it seems like, is going to have a great life.